with regard to dealing with the issues in the energy sector. Also, we know that all MMDCEs have been asked to vacate their posts. The appointments have been revoked or terminated, and the various, coordinating directors of the various district assemblies and metropolitan and municipal assemblies are the ones who are supposed to act, pending the appointment of new chief executives of all of these assemblies. The president has already hit the ground running, and we'll see how everything plays out as his presidency unfolds. But let me say welcome to GH Today here on GHOne Television. My name is Lantam, Papanko. It's great to see you this morning, and I'm not here alone. I'm here with my co-host Serwaa, Amihere, and together from now till 10 a.m. we're going to make sure that we deliver to you an absolutely amazing show. We thank you very much for joining us here on GHOne Television this morning and making us number one on your screen. We're streaming on Facebook, we're streaming on YouTube, we're streaming on X as well. And so you can always join us across all of these live streams. Which one is your preference? Just choose any of it, especially if you're leaving and you don't have access to a television set while you are seated in your car or in your office or wherever it is that you are. Provided you are not driving, you can just log on to Facebook or YouTube or X and keep track of what is happening on the show. The handle, of course, is at GHOne Television. Let's get interactive all throughout the show. Like we always love to begin, let's start with our quote of the day. It's a beautiful one for this morning. So our quote of the day this morning is one by Craig D. Lunsbro, and he says, "Any new beginning is forged from the shards of the past, and not from the abandonment of the past." Any new beginning is forged from the shards of the past, and not from the abandonment of the past. So essentially, it tells us that there are many lessons that we learn from the past that we apply for the future or in our present situation. We go through life and there are many mistakes that we make all the time, and it's important that we learn from those mistakes to make our lives improved and to make our lives better. We don't have to totally abandon the past, because if we totally abandon the past, then we are not learning any lessons, then our present is not better, then our future definitely is not better. So out of the shards of the past is where any new beginning is forged from. So let's bear that in mind and ponder on that as we go throughout the day. From our quote of the day, we zoom in straight into our word of the day. Like we always tell you every morning, a new word to help you improve your vocabulary. Let's take a look at it.
Today's word is E-L-A-N. E-L-A-N. The E has an accent on it. Elan. It's of French origin. Elan is a noun. If you say that someone does something with elan, you mean that they do it in an energetic and confident way. Let's exemplify it. President Mahama's administration started with great elan. We hope they continue.
Yep, and that's our word of the day for this morning. Elan. That's quite an interesting one. Good morning to you, Serwaa.
Good morning, Lantam. Happy New Year.
Many happy returns. Great to see you.
Always. And good morning to our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that, as we always say, you learn a word or two from the vocabularies, every word that we put out here every morning. But let's now bring you our video of the day.
Good. Why? Because it has a number of
Aide, Mansa. This was a very big banger back in the day when it was released. It was playing everywhere. Everybody was jumping up and down to Mansa. It's still a good song. Still a good song. Good to put us in a very nice mood.
Absolutely. Let's now bring you inside out.
So on Inside Out today, we want to talk about a trend that we usually see when a new government takes over. It's not necessarily the best. We saw a little bit of it even before the old administration handed over to this new administration. In the aftermath of the inauguration of President John Dramani Mahama as president of this republic, we're still seeing a little bit of it to the point where Clocksack, has had to come out with a press conference to address some of these issues. And it's quite unfortunate that these things continue to happen. And so I'm pretty sure you've seen the reports. Even before, like I said, the handing over was done, where we see party supporters decide that they are going to go to state-owned enterprises or state companies and go and try and force the eviction of the people who are there. We saw people massing up at the Ghana Gas. We saw people massing up at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. We're seeing that there is some vandalism at Iyoko, for example. The bust which was unveiled by the workers of Iyoko for Mamitiwa, who is the Director General of Iyoko, has been destroyed. The statue of Akufo-Addo in the Western region has been vandalized and destroyed. And I, for the life of me, do not understand why political party supporters cannot be civil. Yeah, your government has come into power, but what you are engaged in is a criminal activity. And it's not something we should allow to go on. We don't allow or condone criminal activity. And if you ask me, I think the Ghana Police Service should be up and doing as regards dealing with this matter, because I also remember that the political party leaders, especially of the NDC, had cautioned their supporters against engaging in some of these acts, of vandalism and acts of, criminality, if you ask me, massing up at these places, demanding the removal of some of the civil servants who are already there, or some of the political appointees who are already there. Once the government has taken over, all of those processes are going to follow through, but you don't go there and engage in acts of criminality.
I absolutely agree, and I think that these acts are very condemnable, and it didn't just start, just when Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia conceded defeat.
Yeah.
That's when it started. And I want to even begin from the Iyoko statue. I have my own reservations about putting up a statue of the director there. But Lantam, if you have been to Iyoko before and you know the kind of strict protocol it exists for you to enter Iyoko, and to see what has happened, there are serious security concerns here, because you can't just get up and enter Iyoko. It has this gate that you need to confirm who you're coming to see, to be confirmed by the person you're coming to see before you are allowed to enter. And I have been to Iyoko before, so I kind of have a very pretty idea of what the arrangement there is like. So for somebody to enter there and destroy the statue, and like I said, we all have our personal opinions and how we feel about these statues, even that on your screens right now of Akufo-Addo, but it's just wrong. And then there are the others who are invading institutions, going to lock up places and vandalize properties. I've even gotten reports of homes of some appointees being ransacked because they want to push them out of those buildings. It is not right. The NPP, some will say, have no moral rights to condemn what is happening, because they also did it in 2016. 2016 when they won the election in 2017.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Certainly, and that is why then we condemned it, and this time we are condemning it because we cannot continue like that as a people.
No.
What is happening? I'm afraid that with what we are seeing, the next time power changes hands, I don't know when, if it's 2028, if it's 2032, we don't know when. I can only imagine. I can only imagine what the NPP is going to do. But I hope that we all learn as a people from these things. I know that it doesn't benefit anybody. You cannot be in your office and someone, because if their party has won power, just enter and come and push you out and lock the place up. It's not right.
Yeah, it's criminal. It's criminal.
Exactly. And I really hope, and because every time these things happen, Lantam, I say that it's because there aren't enough precedents to guide the people who engage in these acts. When they are criminalities, they are criminal acts, and when you find people engage in these acts, arrest them, prosecute them.
Simple as that.
And then let the people know that these are the persons that were involved in these acts, and they have been prosecuted and they have been convicted. But when you don't, because you know what happens, the people who engage in these acts are some of them members of the party that has won power, and so they believe that whatever their case is, once they take over, there's going to be some pardon somewhere.
Yeah, they are going to be shielded, or they are going to be protected,
Precisely, and that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, but it's wrong. It's very wrong for anybody to have that kind of orientation. It's because some of our political party leaders have enabled these kinds of things, right? They engage in things that are illegal, things that are bad. The police apprehend them, and you see some of these political party leaders go behind the scenes to go and be begging the police to release these individuals, and then there are calls that are coming, orders from above for these people to be released and all of that. See, if we don't crack the whip and actually make people begin to pay for these acts of vandalism and hooliganism, which is also criminal, we are going to continue to see these things happen, and people who are members of political parties and grassroots and whoever else is engaged in this, they will continue to be emboldened to do these things, which frankly is nonsense. It's nonsensical. It is uncivil. It is unpatriotic. You do not do that. You do not do that, because I remember, like I was saying earlier, the new administration had not even taken over, but by virtue of the fact that someone has conceded defeat, you have won the election, then you want to go into these public institutions and go and ransack the place and cause fear and cause intimidation and all of that. It doesn't work like that. If anything at all, if you love your party so much, these are things that are giving your party a bad name, giving your party a very bad name, making you people seem as though you are uncivilized, you are uncouth, you are violent, and all of that. And it doesn't all go well for anybody. It's definitely something that does not inure to the benefit of your party if you think that you are doing something right. Wait for the right processes to go through for whoever you believe should be out of wherever they are to be out, because once the new government has taken over, you can't expect the government appointees or political party appointees who are there because their party is in power to continue to stay there. Already the president has issued a directive that all MMDCs, for example, should leave immediately. It will follow through with state-owned institutions and all of that. So you have absolutely no rights. Allow the president to work in peace, in a civilized manner, and do not mar his presidency with your nonsense and with your violent acts and with your hooliganism and with your vandalism. It doesn't augur well for anybody, and it certainly is not making your party look good. If people begin to describe the NDC as a violent party, as a party of uncivilized people and all of that, you are the same individuals who are going to be protesting and saying that the other side is looking down on you. And it is these very acts that you engage in that make people describe you as such. And so it's something that the leadership of the NDC, and I know that the leadership of the NDC has condemned some of these acts. I remember, Fifi Kwete, Mustafa Gbandi and co, asking people to, especially when they went to Ghana Gas, to desist from doing that, and the appropriate actions will be taken. So your leadership has already told you to stop doing that. So who are those individuals within the party going against the wishes and the orders of your leadership to go engage in this criminal act?
You know, speaking of, I even saw a statement from Fifi Kwete asking the people to leave the coalition centers when they initially besieged them. But yesterday, I was listening to Mustafa Gbande, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the party, justify some of these acts again of their supporters taking over certain institutions. You know what he said? To my utter disappointment, that they are protecting state property. Who sent you? That they are collaborating with security agencies to protect state property. Really? Really? When did party supporters become in charge of protecting state property? When? And that's also what he said. And I was utterly disappointed, because you cannot be making such statement when it certainly will not be fair to you if it happens to you as well. And it is just wrong. It is criminal. Yesterday, he made these comments on another radio station. And I heard it and I was very disappointed. And I think that it is very condemnable. You know, party supporters have no place in protecting state property. Yes, we all want state property to be protected, but that is not your job. That is certainly not your job. And he says that if they were taking it and keep taking it to their homes, that would have been a different matter. Please, you are not the police. And the police has certainly not asked for help in protecting state property. And protecting state property does not mean go to places and go and vandalize things and lock the places up. Why? If someone is in their office and they are working and you go and lock the place up, how is that protecting state property?
That is definitely not protecting state property. That is not protecting
state property.
I remember there was a time, of course, in the aftermath of the election, that we were hearing reports that there are some individuals who are already in government who are taking state property and bolting with the state property, and they were asking for information that if you know of anybody who is trying to make away with state property, you should inform the appropriate authorities and make sure that that does not happen. You remember that we went to even Kumasi at the Metro Mass station at Abrepo, where we understand that some of the old buses were sold as scrap. Some of the old buses, decommissioned buses that were there, which could maybe be useful, were sold as scrap to somebody, and the people were busy cutting the metals and taking the parts and all of that. And we saw party supporters mass up there to try and stop and prevent that. The point is, however well-intentioned your actions may be, it is not your mandate. That is why there are structures, there are systems in place in this country to deal with such things. And so you go to the appropriate authorities, you lodge the complaint, you make the report, and then you allow the authorities to deal with it. That is what the Ghana Police Service is there for. So if that is what you want to do, you go through the appropriate procedure and the appropriate channels. And that is well and good and probably understandable. But with going and forcibly removing people from office, forcibly trying to enter Ghana Gas, forcibly trying to enter GNPC, to enter Cocobot, for what? To go and do what? And with this, for the act of vandalism, the Mamitiwa statue at Iyoko Akufo-Addo statue, that one we don't know who has done it. The police would do well to get to the bottom of it, because we still have not been able to figure out
this statue
those
of
who
President
did that.
Akufo-Addo, it's quite in an open space. Anybody at all can do it.
Can do it.
But I am very concerned about the Iyoko's
so
one.
it's an inside job.
Yes, but I mean,
it's
inside
definitely somebody
your party
who is
people
inside.
could be in
well,
the
yeah,
inside
so
as well.
it's somebody, probably
and
somebody from inside.
It's very worrying. I mean, they were all there when they were putting up the statue anyway, weren't they? They were all there, and I don't understand why that statue was put up in the first place, but it's been put there, and some people thought that, you know, because party or government has changed hands, you enter Iyoko of all places and go and vandalize property. Why didn't they lock up the place then? Whoever is behind it, they should have locked up Iyoko and asked all the staff to come out. And this is wrong, and it's condemnable, whichever way you look at it, you know, and it's not just limited to Iyoko and President. I had my reservations about this statute and why the statute was put up in the first place when there's so much work to be done.
Yeah, to be done.
It made no sense to me.
And they were told as the chiefs and people who were happy with Akufo-Addo's work.
The statute is not even
and
nice.
so
they
decided to put it up. I mean, it was needless. It was needless. There was absolutely no reason for a statue to be put up. I mean, even look at the place where the statue has been put. Look at the road. Look at the road where the statue has been put up.
The
road is bad, and they've got to put a statue on a road which has not even been properly constructed. We can talk about that. But after the statue has been put there, which everybody has described as needless, nobody has absolutely any right to go and vandalize it like what we are seeing in there. And, these are things that we should eschew as citizens, really. These are things that we should absolutely condemn and not condone. We need to be responsible citizens. We need to be responsible citizens. And as a responsible citizen, you don't sit down and, engage in acts of vandalism and hooliganism. And Clocksack has had reason to come out in a press conference, right? And they say that they unreservedly condemn the barbaric and primitive acts by armed thugs, purported party apparatchiks and Goro boys. That's according to Isaac Bampuado, who is the executive secretary of Clocksack, right? And Clocksack is actually the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, and they've been raising concerns about these issues, concerns about reports of armed thugs threatening, harassing, and forcefully ejecting civil servants from their officially allocated residences, right? And many of these incidents have been reported, and like we've been talking about them, they're reported, right? Roman Ridge, Laboni, Kuku Hill, Osu, cantonments, they've been going around doing all of this nonsense. And Clocksack is condemning it.
And I said this the last time when it all started, that when these things happen, there's some actual criminals who find a way to infiltrate it and then cause their own problems.
Take
advantage of it. So sometimes it may not even be party supporters, as we call them, but there are criminals somewhere who just get involved, take advantage of the whole thing. Because I have heard the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the NDC ask the party supporters who see some of these things to actually report it to the police. So they themselves identify or agree that there are some criminals who will try to take advantage of what is going on and cause more problems, and that shouldn't be encouraged at all. So it's condemnable. We condemned it in 2017 when it was happening, and we are condemning it today. It shouldn't be happening. And if you are such persons or one of such, you need to bow your head down.
Bow down your head in shame. Like I said, you're giving your party a bad name. President Mahama has taken over. He has started his work. Don't mar the beauty of his presidency with your illegal activities. Don't give the NDC a bad name by engaging in these things which will make people talk and condemn. It's not a good look for a party which has just come into office. If for anything at all, bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. Because the president obviously has a lot of goodwill. The NDC obviously now has a lot of goodwill because the people of this country have entrusted the party into office, right? Have entrusted the administration of the country into the party's hands. So don't go about engaging in things which is going to give the NDC a bad name and make people call people within the NDC violent and hooligans and criminals. It does not augur well. And the leadership of the NDC obviously will not be happy about these things. And I will call on the leadership once again, if there are any party elements engaged in these activities, to call them to order.
Right. So that's it on that. Let's move on, because there's some other thing that we need to quickly touch on before we wrap up this segment. And that is the looming energy crisis. For many years, in fact, for 8 years or more, John Dramani Mahama and his administration, old administration, did not get away with the tag of being the originator of Doomso and superintending over a Doomso economy and Doomso country. Well, when Nana Addo Dankwa took over, the NPP made us believe that they came to solve Doomso. As it stands, I don't even think that debate has been concluded yet as to who actually fixed Dumso, because every time that topic comes up, I said the debate itself has not been concluded, because anytime it comes up, the NPP says that they fixed it, the NDC says that they fixed it before they left office. Now, it appears that Dumso might be coming back. And on the day of the inauguration, we had the former Deputy Energy Minister, GHOne, tell us that, in a couple of days to come, we're going to get into a power crisis because we do not have enough fuel to sustain us.
Yeah.
And this is where we find ourselves. And already I have seen the argument come back that, John Dramani Mahama has come back and he's coming back with Dumso.
I mean, that would be so unfair.
Which is exactly, it will not be right.
So unfair. The man literally just took over. The man literally just entered the office, and immediately as he entered the office, he has had to convene an emergency meeting to make sure that issues that are in the power sector are dealt with. If you remember, when they were in opposition, they had been consistently drumming home their point that there is a looming power crisis and that there is Dumso and that all is not well within the energy sector. And the government, that is the outgone administration, the Akufo-Addo administration, has just put band-aids on the Dumso situation without actually taking the proper steps to deal with it. And so if we do not take care, we will return to the days of Dumso. And we all remember Dumsie, lights go off, let's get a timetable. So obviously there were challenges within the energy sector before this administration took over. And so it is interesting that at a time when John Mahama has come into office again, we are talking about Dumso. It will seem as though the name John Mahama is synonymous, with Dumso. But I think that would be, greatly unfair to the incoming administration.
I totally agree with you, and that is why we're being told that John Dramani Mahama has set up a 12-member committee to find ways and means to fix the situation. And we'll be bringing you sports chat very shortly, but just a little bit of background for those of you who may not fully understand what is going on in very simple terms, right? So we are able to generate power through gas mainly, and then we have the fuel bit, right? And we have been using the gas for a very long time. That is really what we mostly rely on. Now, WAPCO, which is a gas processing company, has said that these pipelines where the gas passes through need some form of maintenance, meaning we're going to have to shut down and will not be able to generate enough gas to power or give us electricity. And so we have to rely on the fuel. And when you hear that government needs about $90 million, that what's really is saying is that we need $90 million to purchase fuel. And as you have heard John Jinapo and the NDC say, when you buy that fuel, because there are different types of fuel, there's light crude and there's heavy, and then there's about 3 of them or so. Now, when you buy the fuel, it won't just come immediately. It will take about 4 weeks to purchase it, and then about some other 4 weeks to refine it into what we need. Somewhere in September, WAPCO wrote to government to want to undertake these maintenance works on these pipelines. And government pleaded with them to shift it to January. And we are in January, right? And so WAPCO needs to undertake their maintenance works. And that means we're going to have to fall on the fuel. But there's no fuel. And that is why the NDC is saying that the NPP government is sabotaging them, because per the GridCo reports that it has been shared on our social media pages, government is aware. Well, the past government, the outgone government was aware that they needed about $90 million to purchase the fuel so that we can rely on that. And they didn't get it. And now WAPCO has to also undertake its maintenance works. And so as to whether or not they are going to have to hold on WAPCO from, conducting their maintenance works, if they are going to have to get the fuel in as soon as possible, that is something that I believe that the 12-member committee would have to decide on. But I just read on Ben Boachi of ASEP's World this morning that WAPCO has also brought in all the machines and the equipment that they used to undertake their maintenance with. So does it mean that government will have to compensate them, asking them to hold on, or they're going to go ahead and make sure that they get the fuel in as soon as possible? That's simply what it means. So, yes, I mean, it will be totally unfair for anybody to associate whatever power crisis that we have to John Dramani Mahama.
Well, but you know
he just took over.
You know the propagandists in the system and those who have gone into opposition and those who have always insisted that John Mahama presided over a doomsday economy,
He only became president.
Yeah,
yesterday.
And the propagandists will now come and say, we said it, Mahama has come again, so doomsday has come again. We said it, Mahama has come again, so doomsday has said again. When any propagandist tells you that, please, the facts on the ground do not support that argument in any way, shape, or form. And it has been pretty obvious, even before this government took over, that there were serious challenges within the energy sector. We experienced it. There were times where we were going off and we were even refused. The then energy minister, who became vice presidential candidate, told us that we should go and print our own timetable, or we should do our own timetable. Obviously, there were issues within the energy sector, and these issues have built up and accumulated to the point where we are now. So let's understand that. I don't know the measures that government is going to put in place to deal with this situation, because obviously WAPCO will need to do the pigging, and the longer they delay, the pigging is the maintenance, and the longer they delay, the worse the situation becomes. And so it's something that they will definitely need to undertake. Luckily for us here in this country, our thermal plants are run both by gas and by light crude oil, or fuel. So liquid and gas. So when there is just that gas is easier to run and it is cheaper and it is more efficient. And then when we use the oil or when we use the crude, it is more difficult, even though it works. So like you mentioned, it will take about 8 weeks if we are going to buy fuel and bring it to power the thermal plants while the maintenance goes on. And so the gas will need to come some way, somehow. So what is this 12-member committee, going to do with regard to the situation that we find ourselves in? We wait to see, what they are going to do about it. But see, we need to deal with this doomsday issue in this country once and for all. Seriously, we need to deal with the issues in the energy sector, because energy sector issues have been there from J.J. Rawlings to President Kufuor, to the Mills Mahama administration, to the Mahama administration, where it reached its peak. And then some steps were taken to deal with it, bringing in Amihere and car power and, all of those things, and doing a Tuabo gas and putting in, cash waterfall and doing ESLA and all of that. And then we come and the MPP has also taken over and done A and B and C and D. And we are still talking about issues within our energy sector. It's something that needs to be dealt with once and for all, really, if you ask me. And President Mahama will be minded to do that. But anyway, let's end Inside Out.
Yeah, that's it for Inside Out.
Yes, and from Inside Out, we zoom in straight into the newspaper headlines. Let's take a look at today's papers. All right, so we begin today's papers with the Daily Graphic newspaper.
Right, so the Daily Graphic, energy crisis looms, $1.2 billion needed for Accra government. Government stakeholders scramble for solution, and we're telling you that John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana, has set up a 12-member committee chaired by John Jinapo to find a solution to this energy crisis. Ghana misses inflation target. December rates inches up to 23.8%. President revokes MMDCE's appointment. All of these people were sacked with just a pen. I love it. I love the no, not that. I love the the appointment revoking. But I love that you can, when you're president, you have so much power.
Yeah.
You can fire people with just a pen.
I mean, the president appoints them, right? So the president, and we want, and what is going to happen to the CEOs of state-owned enterprises, right, and state-owned organization? There was some
court
Supreme
ruling, yes, that they are public servants, and so
but
because
the president still has the power of appointment and disappointment.
Yes, but there's a Supreme Court ruling.
Yeah, but the president appoints them.
Once they have become per the ruling, once they have become director generals or CEOs or whatever they may be called, quoting verbatim what was in the ruling, they have become public officers. And so just because there's a change of government, and you know what's interesting? The lawyer for the plaintiff at the time was Eduji Tamaklu, who is now the Director of Legal Affairs for the NDC. So it will be very interesting. However, the members, that same Supreme Court ruling said that the members of the board were not public servants, and so those people could be fired.
Yeah.
Right? So
if the members of the board are fired,
they can fire the CEO.
They can fire the CEO.
Yes, but the president
there are so
on
many
his
ways
own to killing the cats, right?
Killing the cats, so many. But I don't think any CEO of any state-owned enterprise would want to stay. Joe Anoche has already fired himself. He's proceeded on his own.
That's the
most
honorable thing to do, to save yourself the embarrassment when you know that they will definitely
sack you. So you say
you.
there's a court ruling, so I'm the CEO at Ghana, so I'm staying.
But you see,
waiting for them to come and sack. Just go.
In Ghana, we don't like to test the law. That is our problem.
If
I am not a CEO, but if I were, I would want to test the law because, that is what the law is there for. Test it.
Well,
that is what a GHOne and his clients ought to do.
Well, I think
test it and get an interpretation of the law.
They should just go. Don't wait for anybody to come and tell you to proceed on leave. Just proceed on leave.
You let me finish with my people. Business grinds slowly at MDA's day one after transition. And a Blakuma North returning officer steps down. Collation exercise suspended for the 6th time. This thing is just it's really tiring, and I can understand why the returning officer will say, you know what, even me, I'm tired, I won't do it again, go and find someone else. And yesterday as well, we had report of some supporters of the NDC from Okaikwe Central who had gone to the party headquarters demanding what they call answers from the executives on the contention or the whatever they want to call it of the Okaikwe Central constituency. I
think at the end of the day, the courts will eventually, decide on all of this. So, let's just wait for the courts to decide. If anybody feels, there are even with some of the MPs who have been sworn in now, there are still issues with regard to their legitimacy in courts, right? So, let the courts decide. Someone would say, at this time, the NDC should just give up and allow. But if they feel legitimately that they have won these seats and something untoward has happened, they should fight it, to the end and allow the courts to deal with it. But let's move to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. First day at work, President Mahama fires MMDCs. Serwaa. Okay. Directs coordinating directors to act. Global Volunteer Corps congratulates President Mahama. Government takes measures to avert looming power crisis, and we are not minority, NPP MPs fume. So they say that they are not a minority. All right, let's do the new proceeding guide, Serwaa.
The new proceeding guide: Mahama revokes appointment of MMDCEs and CBTG Metalo. What is that, Metalo or Motalo? I can't see right. And Swiss Better Gold brainstorm on responsible small-scale mining. Small-scale miners pledge support for Mahama's government, and contempt hearing against COP GHOne and others set for January 13. Ghanaians Lord Zoom Lion for excellent cleanup after President's inauguration. Hey! Volta Ghana Investment Company under scrutiny. Ghanaians Lord Zoom Lion for excellent cleanup. Really, this. What sort of PR is this? Anyway, we like it.
Yeah,
we like
it. It's good. It's good.
Like the way police said they were very happy with Ghanaians for conducting
I mean, by
themselves
Zoom Lion
very well.
is doing a good job. I mean, Zoom Lion has been the face of sanitation in this country for a long time.
You see, Lantam, they are being paid to do what they are doing. Where is their praises coming from? You are being paid to do your job.
They've done it very well.
They went and buy a space in the newspaper to say Ghanaians Lord Zoom Lion. We are journalists. We haven't heard nobody. Have you seen any interview saying that? We are very happy with Zoom Lion.
There is a new government in power, so you need to cozy up to the new government so that you can do business.
I understand.
You understand where it's coming from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is good PR.
Oh, so congratulations to Zoom Lion doing a fantastic job. Very, 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 very good, Zoom Lion.
Let's move on.
Very good. Let's do the Chronicle newspaper. Mahama's investiture, Zoom Lion lauded for cleaning Accra. Yeah, Zoom Lion has done well. Afenyo Makin rejects micro-minority tag. And Nassam ready to help JM fight Galamsey. Mahama sacks all MMDCs. Bible verse, Psalm 51:11. Cleanse me with what? I'm struggling to see the word there. I can't see it. Cleanse me with...
I can't see it as well.
Is it hyssop?
The newspaper
and I will
can we
be
have
clean.
it?
Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. I can't see that word, but it's from Psalm 51, verse 11. Maybe I'll go to the Bible on my tablet and look for it. But that is it for the Chronicle newspaper. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next paper.
The Daily Dispatch. Mahama's success is key to NDC's chances in 2028. And I know that it's early days yet, but I kind of have a pretty idea of the people who will be contesting in 28 for the NDC. Yeah. So I'm sure that
what are the names you are
the one who is speaking is part of it. We understand. I am very well informed. We would like to be contesting
to become president.
There's Julius Deborah as well.
Deborah.
Yes, and
Haruna Idrisu.
Well, those ones are not confirmed yet, but these two are confirmed. So, like he said, yes, Mahama's success is very key to NDC's chances in 2028. Well, there was little danger from Captain Torre greeting Mahama while armed, security analyst, and little danger. I don't agree. I thought that it breached protocol and it was undiplomatic.
Yeah.
And it was very risky. Anything could have happened. And
you don't allow that to happen. I mean, we should admit that there was a breach in protocol.
Well, NDC government will surely abolish the e-levy and COVID-19 levy. That's according to Joyce Bawa-Mokhtari, and she'll be joining us on the show this morning.
Yep.
Because we have heard some people make it sound as if there'll be rationing of the taxes and not a complete abolishment. So we'll see.
I heard some is it Gutta also urge president, the incoming administration, the administration,
yes, the
NDC administration, not to scrap the e-levy, but if they have said they will scrap the e-levy, they will scrap the COVID levy, they will scrap all of these taxes, they must definitely know how they are going to generate income, or should I say they are going to generate money to do the things that they need to do as a government. They say only friend is Beto Boabo and then 9 CPP. So if they say they are going to scrap all of this, they must know what they are talking about. So we'll see how it all plays out. That same story is there on the Daily Post newspaper by Joyce Bawa-Mokhtari. We'll support Ghana's development initiatives. That's according to the World Bank. Mahama revokes MMDC appointments in Ablekuma North. We won't accept any illegality coming from the EC. That's according to the NDC. So that finally will do it for the newspaper headlines this morning. Right, so joining us in the studio now is Joel, the man who doesn't support any team.
You don't?
Do you support any team? The last time he told me that he doesn't support any team.
How is your team doing?
My team is doing fine. Don't worry about my team.
Lantam, Lily. You all support Manchester United?
Yes.
Lily supports Manchester United
Yes.
too? Oh.
Yeah, he
Yes.
does. He does.
Okay.
Our team is fine. Don't worry about our team.
Okay.
We are looking ahead.
Okay.
We are looking into the future.
But what you don't support any team?
No, today I have something for Mutala instead, not your team.
I said what team?
Mutala
You don't
supports
support it.
Arsenal.
He supports Arsenal, so I've got something for Arsenal.
Why are you running away from the question?
Kudos has a new coach.
Why are you running away from the question?
I'm thinking of joining your team soon. Maybe.
Come.
Let's
We
see
welcome you.
Let's see
We
how the
welcome you with
Amorim
open
ball
arms.
performs in the season ongoing. So maybe I might join your team. You never know. Yeah, but
you are wearing a red pocket square.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You've got blue in here too.
No, that's not
This
blue.
is not the
It's
kind
not
of blue
It's not the
for
kind of
Chelsea.
blue
You
for
see,
Chelsea or
you guys have
anything.
already started.
You are wearing a red pocket square. Red pocket square means
It could
you
be
can
Arsenal.
a red devil.
It could be an Arsenal
it could be
colour.
Arsenal.
It could be
No,
Arsenal. You
red
never
devil.
know. Anyway.
But why are you forcing him? If you have a good thing, you don't advertise it.
No, he
So
needs,
our team is
probably he needs me.
No,
he
so
needs
if
me
he-
in Manchester United. So I'll
For
think
what?
about it.
No, he should
He's
come.
lobbying to get me there. You
He should
asking
come.
for what?
Let him
Yeah,
come.
why do you need him
He
there?
should come. He should come. Because Manchester United is the best team in the world.
If the team is good, Mom, but I mean, you
Where
don't
the
have
moon,
to.
where the moon means.
No, I'm just saying that. Why are you forcing the person to join
He
your
has
team?
to come and join the team.
Hey,
Yes.
Joel, please, what do you have for us?
All right, so today we've got a lot from the Ghana University Games happening in Cape Coast. They're entering day 5 today, and a whole lot here. So stick and stay. We've got more here on Sports Chat. All right, let's start with our very first story that has to do with the GHOne Games that is currently underway in Cape Coast. It's the University of Cape Coast that is hosting this one. And yesterday, they were high flying in the men's volleyball competition. They ensured they got all points needed when they defeated UDS in their volleyball men's competition, and the 3-0 in favor of UCC. Legon, University of Ghana, Legon, they also won 10-0 over GCTU there. That's the Ghana Communications Technology University. They lost by 10-0 to University of Ghana. Go ball. I don't know if you guys know about goal ball. I mean, goal ball is a particular sport where
Goal ball.
Yeah, goal ball. It's for the visually impaired. And there's this thing that is placed in the ball, so it's like a ring.
Okay.
But if you're not visually impaired, you'll be blindfolded. Then you
Right.
participate in that particular sport.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite an interesting sport. It's an Olympic sport though.
Interesting.
And they've introduced it in the university games. And yesterday, University of Ghana mauled, the Communications University by 10 goals to 0. In there, so that's for
Goal ball.
the goal ball competition. All
I
right,
think I need to go and read a bit.
yeah, you should. I mean, we'll show. I think we'll show a video of it tomorrow, hopefully, to give a bird's eye view
Right.
for people to understand what goal ball is all about. So the games today is day 5. Yesterday there was a football competition between the University of Cape Coast, UCC played the University of Ghana, but this is the beach volley. The men beach volleyball, University of Ghana won 2-0 over UBIDS in their university games currently underway. Handball women's also, we saw University of Ghana losing in the handball to University of Education Winneba there. They lost by 20 to 46. And University of Education Winneba again losing in the men's hockey. They lost to Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. So these are the results in the hockey competition happening at the GHOne Games. The 28 GHOne Games netball women 36-44, KNUST losing to University of Education Winneba in the netball women's competition. And finally, the handball men's competition, KNUST lost again to University of Education in the handball men's competition. So, those were the results there for you. It was day 4 with regards to the university games that is underway. So I don't know which universities you are rooting for, but currently UCC, who are the hosts, they are the defending champions. They do well when it comes to the university games. They go represent Ghana also when it comes to the World University Games,
right,
and also the Africa University Games more often than not because of the way they perform. I gather a lot of athletes are gotten from UCC.
Yeah, that's
sometimes also from, Legon. I don't know how Legon does it, but also from Legon sometimes. But match week 15, this is an outstanding game in the Ghana Premier League. In Swaterman, they were at home. They shared the spoils 1-1. That game ended with Midiama. So 16 games have been played so far in the Ghana Premier League. This was their match week 15 game, actually. So it was an outstanding game, and they've honored it, but it ended 1-1. So these are the highlights of the game that was played in Swaterman. Remember, Lantam, they have won the league before, but they are facing a few challenges because of the coach who left. Yapreko also left them as coach of the side. Remember, they came into the league guns blazing and they won it. They have competition. They did so well, but it's not looking too good for Swaterman this time around. Yeah, it's not looking too good. Maybe one will also say probably their owner is the outgoing
Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Ignatius Bafuiwa. Yeah, and also outgone, it's not outgoing, it's outgone minister, and also outgone MP for Sunyani West.
Yes, Sunyani West. Yes. Sunyani West. Yeah, a lot with regards to Sunyani West. I've been there. I've seen how deplorable the road has been for years, whilst he was still in power. So I should think that's the reason why they...
Yeah, Sunyani West, from Odomase going all of those places, Odomase, Kwetre, all of those places.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's for the Premier League. But then, let's look at the English Premier League. Yesterday, there was a game played, but it was the EFL competition. It was Liverpool who took on Tottenham Hotspur. The pulsating one. Obviously, most were expecting Liverpool to win this one, but unfortunately, it was Tottenham Hotspur who got it. All the important points needed for them in this particular game. But a sad incident happened afterwards. It was just in the first 2 minutes of the game, and we saw a certain gentleman, a Uruguayan, going down. So there you have it, Benteke. The ball was not around him, and he just went down.
Wow.
So investigations is currently...
But is he okay?
Yeah, currently, he's responding to treatment we gathered this morning.
We've seen things like this happen to players on the pitch, and some of them didn't make it.
Yeah,
but, so it's always a scary moment for a player to go down.
Not when you are not when even the ball is around you, but when you are far away.
I remember the very first one I vividly remember, of course it's been happening before, but the very first one I vividly remember was what happened to Mark Vivian Foe.
Exactly.
When he was on the pitch and he suddenly just collapsed and he was gone.
So yeah, he is currently responding to treatment, so it's good news for his side, and winning the game also at least will spare him some sort of excitement at the hospital. He wouldn't be in coma. He's doing so well.
Yeah,
so
but he'll be happy.
Yeah, and to Mohammed Kudus, Serwaa Kudus has a new coach, Graham
Why do you
Potter.
mention Kudus and look at it says mention my name?
So Graham Potter is the new coach.
Oh yeah, go
Graham
ahead.
Potter is the new coach for
who was the old
West Ham, Le Portugais. He's been sacked. He was sacked yesterday afternoon.
Oh.
Yeah, they are placed 14th when it comes to the league log in the Premier League. So they decided to show him the exit because we see our own Kudus performing so well, but then you're not climbing up. It looks like they're relegation threatened also, though they are not down there in the bottom three.
Right.
Yeah. So this is actually Graham Potter's record when he was at Chelsea. We just want to shine light whilst he was at Chelsea. He's coached Brighton. He's coached a lot of clubs in England, and he's coming back again to England. So he played 31 games. He won just 12 with 8 draws and 11 losses there, and the goal scoring rate that is quite good. So probably when he joins West Ham, we're going to see.
So I see two different figures there. The 3.4 million pound. Does that pounds or euros?
That's pounds.
That's pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference per win? The 3.4 and then 1.2. What's the difference?
So for the 3.4 million per win, is with Chelsea.
Okay.
That was, I mean, at most times what he was expected to get when they win games.
But what he was actually getting was 1.2 million.
He was getting 1.2 million.
Hey, per win.
Yeah. But
As
there are
coach.
taxes also, so you should expect when you're
But
playing in
assuming,
England.
no, but let's just,
Can I be a coach?
yes, I mean, you're talking, even if they charge, you know, £200,000.
But the taxes are outrageous.
I'm saying.
Yeah, the tax regime in the UK is quite big.
Right.
Yeah.
So it won't go beyond £400,000. Let's just say 400. I don't even think it will get to 400,000.
You want to start thinking about melting in Ghana? No.
My goodness. How much do the players get?
Oh, some of the players, it depends on what, you know, most players sign and then you'll be told you're getting this thing a week. Some get paid weekly, some get monthly. So it depends on the caliber of player.
But what's the rate, the minimum?
So your transfer market depends on your salary. So the transfer market depends on, okay, if you say transfer market, how you're performing and you are pegged at a particular place. So that depends on your salary.
Joel, what's the lowest, the minimum?
For English players?
Yes.
I mean, I think the minimum should be around not less than £1 million.
A week?
No, for weekly, no, not million.
I mean, a week,
no,
maybe about 50,000.
Yeah, 50,000.
The dollars should be about 50,000. There are people who are making as well 350,000,
yeah,
400,000 a week, 500,000. I remember those days when Alexis Sanchez came to Manchester United, he was making in excess of 500,000.
This area, you want a friend in the Premier League.
Yeah, so because
so Kudus.
I mentioned Kudus and she was like, why am I looking at her?
Is he the only Ghanaian there?
Antoine Semenyo is also there. He's performing.
Thomas Partey is also there.
Why?
Semenyo, I prefer you go for Semenyo.
Go for him as what?
No, I'll link Semenyo so that
as what?
A friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you want a friend in the Premier League.
I mean, to link me somewhere.
I know. You are in Manchester. There's no one in there. Okay, maybe Menu. We'll look at Menu.
Could be Menu, yes.
But why? Kudus should go to Manchester United.
He should come. We want him.
When Ten Hag was there, he should have gotten him because he was with him in Ajax, and we were expecting that he could have gotten Kudus. I mean, probably he felt the style of play at Manchester would not really well.
So we are seeing the tennis player there.
There you see him. World number 2 currently. So any of the whole thing.
Yeah. Interesting. So after competing against each other, then you employ your opponent as your coach. That's nice.
So I had this for Mutala, but he's not around. This is from actually a Chelsea player. This is from a Chelsea player, and he decided to write this for Arsenal.
But it's true.
It's true. You're a Manchester United fan, so you say it's true. Mutala is watching at home, so he's going to go like,
nice.
really, this is not fair. So they're saying 35%.
Oh no, but it's true. Arsenal know how to win the community shield. You're a sportsman, you know that when it comes to community shield,
is good at that.
No. When it comes to community shield,
he won't let you talk about his team. But look at how he's
Arsenal is very good at winning community shield. Arsenal is yes.
So this for Arsenal, and there's a video.
Okay.
The video is the part of the video for me is this young chap. He couldn't even talk.
It's my first game in the house.
It's okay. Arsenal is a great team. Is it your first game here?
How can Arsenal do this to the young boy? Isn't this his first time going to watch the game? He's been watching from home. And yesterday, just win it.
You should get used to it. Arsenal is synonymous with broken hearts.
Well,
Manchester United doesn't even do any better.
I didn't say.
You see, Arsenal historically, after that's their invincible season, and after the Invincibles left, Thierry Henry and Co, Patrick Vieira and Co, after all of them left, Arsenal never really recovered. They're always hovering around fourth.
But they're doing well though.
Fourth. They've never won a Premier League since then, up till now. Broken hearts after broken. It's like they are allergic to Premier League trophy. It's like when they see the trophy, and they get close to the trophy, they get popo bully, and then they run away from the trophy. You don't know what is wrong with Arsenal.
Mutala will not be happy with
They've come close. They see the trophy. Then they will give it to Liverpool.
I'm not okay. So I might not side with you, but then I know you are sounding this way because you are a Man U fan.
But is it not true?
And Man U fans, it's for ladies. I hear for ladies, they don't want to support Arsenal because of the heartbreak. I don't know about. I mean, Serwaa does. I didn't know you didn't support Manchester United because you heard of that, right?
Oh, certainly not. Certainly not. But I mean, Manchester United, we've had our own heartbreaks.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, this
So
season
it's
we are
just-
still living in broken hearts.
Exactly. So you know what hypocrisy is? Is knowing that you two you have the same problem, but
you
you're
are not
talking about
admitting
your
it, right?
brother's problem with so much, you
Allow
know,
us to talk.
and digesting it
Allow
and
us
making
to
it
talk.
look
And
like
over the weekend, you have a
Manchester
big game
United
coming
is
up.
always
Don't worry about
in a
us.
very comfortable lead.
Don't
We
worry
here, you
about
know
us.
that's not the case.
You have a big
At the end of the
game
day,
coming up.
we'll compare records.
Okay.
And we'll allow the records to speak.
Okay.
Arsenal doesn't come close.
I'll present a starter pack to you tomorrow
Don't worry.
for the game.
No worry, I don't need it.
Please.
Over the
My heart
weekend.
is very strong. My heart is
Anyway,
very
All
strong.
right, yeah. So that's it for sports. But
Right.
today, I mean, we're going to be joined in the studio by a boxer. Monica and Benghazi will be interviewing a boxer. We're looking at the year in review. We're looking at how boxing is fared so far. So a boxer who won gold at the All Africa Games will be joining us in the studio at 1 p.m. So viewers should watch it. They should watch the game at 1 p.m. Whilst we interview the boxer and the coach for the national side, Coach Asari. They're going to be in the studio also. And you can get all the sports updates on our subsequent platforms on the newsroom and News Tonight. That's it for sports here.
All right, so we'll go for a break.
yes, please. And when we return, the newspaper review is on, and then we will also be talking to Joyce Bahamutari. Told you that earlier, and a little later, the man who designed John Dramani Mahama's inauguration outfit that has become so much talked about will be joining us on the show as well.
Yeah.
He's Matthew Agambire.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you remember that name, don't you?
Agambiri.
Yeah. That's Roland's brother, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, so stay with us. I will be back with more after the break. I am Serwaa Amihere.
And I'm Lantam Papanko. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. You're still watching GH Today here on GHOne TV, and my guests are here in the studio. We're going to get to the breakfast review segment right away. Dr. Amihere is here in the studio. Dr. Amihere is the NDC's, a member of the NDC's communications team, and his party is now in power, so he's wearing white to signify victory. And what again? What else does the white signify?
Of course, it signifies prosperity, vision, hope, optimism, power, greatness. And we are hopeful that the President, John Dramani Mahama, will deliver on the mandate, the overwhelming victory that he chalked. Some of us will always be ready to trumpet the good things he will do for the people of Ghana, for the teeming young people of Ghana who are expectant of decent jobs, the people of Ghana who are expectant that we will enjoy stable, sustainable electricity, the people of Ghana who are waiting, the business community who are waiting for favorable business environment to continue doing business, just like the President said 2 days ago, that Ghana is open for business again. He will put in place measures that will ease the business environment for people, especially young people, to grow their businesses and employ their fellow or colleague young people who are expectant of decent jobs to eke out a decent living. So I'm clad in white this morning as a sign of victory, as a sign of hope, in my readiness to support His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to make the NDC attractive, to make the people of Ghana continue to love the party and the governance of the NDC. It is my hope that in the next 4 years, the 1.7 million gap that we chalked will balloon or skyrocket to about 4 million. And as time goes on, the NDC will continue to retire the MPP in perpetual opposition.
So that's
greetings,
your prayer,
yes, greetings to our viewers this morning, yourself and my senior brother, Dr. Palgrave Boache Dankwa.
Since you've introduced him for me, let me say good morning to you, Doc.
Good morning, Lantam.
He has done my job for me. So good morning to you.
Good morning, Lantam. Good
Welcome.
morning. Thank you, and a happy new year to you.
Many
and,
happy returns.
A very good morning to your viewing public. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we'll rejoice and be glad in it.
It is well. It is well. It's time for the breakfast review. Right, let's get into the issue, shall we? We want to first of all touch on the fact that President John Dramani Mahama has begun working. And one of the very first things that he did was to make sure that he puts in place measures to deal with a looming power crisis, because there has to be maintenance work on the West African gas pipeline. And because of that, we cannot get gas. And if we can't get gas, we would have to depend on oil, crude oil. And we don't have enough crude oil to power the thermal plant. So what do? That's one of the things that President Mahama has been confronted with as he has entered government. Also, one of the first things that he also did was to ask all MMDCs, in accordance with the Local Government Act, to vacate their offices. And so, as of today, every MC, every DC is not supposed to be in office again, and I think the coordinating directors are supposed to be acting until substantive MMDCs are appointed. Also, NDC supporters have been locking government offices in retaliation to a similar move in 2017. And let's begin from there. And Dr. Aya, I'll begin with you on this one. Why are NDC party supporters moving about intimidating government appointees, civil servants, and all of that, to the extent that Clocksack has even had to, do a press conference on it?
Certainly, this is not something that all of us are happy about. Just in the immediate aftermath of the election, the president-elect at the time spoke to the nation, spoke to the teeming young people of the NDC that he has come for good. They voted for him, he has come. And that he is ready and willing to develop Ghana. It is unfortunate that some over-exuberant young people in the NDC have decided to take things into their own hands, which is not something that all of us are happy about. As I sit here yesterday, I received several calls about the happening from my family in the Eastern region, and I certainly do not think that it is something that any, senior member or leading member of the NDC is happy about. I don't know. Yesterday I saw that some people had besieged the, Kotoka International Airport. I saw the Greater Accra Regional Chairman there trying to calm down the young people. I think that it is not something that the NDC approves of. We condemn it in its, loudest form. I'm encouraging the young people that they should hold on. The president has already started work. All the people, all the political appointees who are occupying various offices, the NDC has its own vision, which may not necessarily be in line with those people, but it's a matter of due process and time. The president will put in place measures to make sure that they are, the political appointees are duly replaced for the NDC appointees with the vision of the president to come and make things better. Except that the way and manner the young people are doing what they are doing now, it's not something that all of us are happy about. I've received several calls. And we are encouraging them to retreat and hold on with whatever they are doing. In due time, the right thing will be done. We are encouraging them not to intimidate and attack people occupying, especially civil servants, occupying legitimate offices and delivering on their responsibility for the people of Ghana. I personally condemn it. I'm not happy about it. And I encourage every young person there, every young person or any young person who has plans of doing that to retreat.
Very well. Dr. Boachi Dankwa, what are your thoughts on this trend? And of course, what Dr. Aya has just said, that it's something which is condemnable. He doesn't subscribe to it, calling on the party people to exercise restraint.
Lantam, it's a call in the right direction. You recall when the elections was over, I couldn't come out of my house. From the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, I couldn't come out of my house.
Why?
Because, you see, the NDC had won overwhelmingly. We had diligently conceded even before the Electoral Commission came out in terms of the presidential results, and people felt that political appointees should be harassed. I don't have a political official car. I don't live in a political official bungalow. I don't have any of those largesse. But by virtue of my work as a spokesperson of the Kufuor Bawumia-led government, and you give me an opportunity to look beautiful on your TV every morning, people accrued a lot of things to us. So our lives were under threat. And the burning of EC offices, and I'm glad that at the time the president-elect...
we don't know who did. The burning of EC offices...
I'm glad at the time...
We can't attribute to any political... We don't know who did. So it will be a bit unfair to attribute it to the NDC supporters.
But then at least, let's just discuss that, very largely. I'm glad that at the time the president-elect spoke about it, our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, at the time spoke about it, and the threats have been going on. Now we have a new president. If you listen very well to his inaugural speech, he made claim of the friendship that he and President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo have had over the years. Over the years. Considerable depth of friendship. And the fact that he has been an worthy opponent. Very considerable. Very savoring, reverencing words. And if you see how our flag bearer in the 2024 general election, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, expressed such diligence and commandery and respect and humility in congratulating him, in participating in the inauguration, in expressing such gesture. You see that at the top, there is mutual respect, mutual love of understanding that elections campaigning is about ideologies, it's about policies that you want to do. When the elections are over, it's done. But we need to make sure that at the grassroots, people understand that. We need to make sure that at both political parties, we need to make sure that people understand that the NDC does not need to go to public offices, that members of the NDC does not need to go to Kotoka International Airport. That's the first place that visitors come. Look at how Ghana was graced with all these continental leaders, from Paul Kagame to Tinubu, the president of Nigeria and head of ECOWAS, the rank and file. Twitter has been booming with congratulations messages for Ghana, for President John Dramani Mahama, and we don't want this. I'm glad that the NDC is resolving these issues at the party level, that the Greater Accra Regional Chairman is asking that calm be remained. I know that they went to Tor as well, that calm be remained. And I'm also aware, and I have indications that they are also storming national security. Huge numbers of NDC supporters are storming national security. So these are very troubling, and we would want them to be restrained, because if you cause effect to public property, the internal security, which is the Ghana Police Service, has a right to deal with you.
Yeah.
And so they should try as much as possible that we don't live in fear. I want to go about my normal opposition duties as a civil citizen, very well, without any fear or rancor.
All right, let's move on. Let's switch our attention to some other issues. MMDCs are going, or should I say they've gone?
Yes.
Right. They've been asked to go, and I mean, according to the Local Government Act, this is what has to happen.
Yes.
When a new government takes over. But I've heard some people say, like President Mills did some time back, when he came into office, he allowed some of the MMDCs to stay on because there's critical work that still needs to be done and proper administration needs to be done. And perhaps President John Mahama could have taken a page out of his former boss's book. Do you agree? Do you agree with those sentiments?
Oh, of course, people are entitled to their views. We live in a democratic world. And I think the President Mahama has been president before. He was president for 4 years. He has been in opposition for 8 years. He is in power now. I think that he is clothed with every experience and insights that he needs as far as governance of this country is concerned. You realize that immediately he was elected, he started working. He set up a committee for oral. He appointed officials. He appointed national security coordinator. This is somebody who had not even begun work. So he has considered the benefits and disadvantages of this action. And I certainly believe that it is a step in the right direction, in that the current MMDCs and DCs do not share the same vision President Mahama shares. And President Mahama has won elections in power. He has people that he shares same visions with. You know that MMDCs, DCs, our political parties by the government at the time. Why would President Mahama work with a group of people who do not share his vision the way he wants to manage this country? In fact, this is a government that has completely, and the former government has completely destroyed Ghana's economy. Common fuel for our power plants they couldn't buy.
We'll come back to that.
Yes,
so
it is clear that President Mahama certainly knows what he's about. He is the one who has won, and he has a team of visionary young men and women and highly experienced leading members of the party who have track record in the governance of this country, who give him the best of advice. You understand the point? You have people like Dr. Callistus Mahama, Dr. Valerie Sawyer, senior leading members of the party who have governance experience. So they give him the best of advice, coupled with President Mahama's far-reaching experience and insight in the governance of this country. This is clearly a step in the right direction. The DCs under the MPP have outlived their welcome. And so I certainly agree with President John Dramani Mahama. People are saying that it is too early.
Yeah. Is it?
But President Mahama came into power just 2 days ago. Yesterday he had a meeting. Why didn't we say that it is too early for President Mahama to have a meeting? If President Mahama has hit the road working, why should people who do not share his vision still occupy offices? It is clearly not in tandem with the vision of President Mahama. So I certainly agree with the step that the President John Dramani Mahama has. And President Mahama has not left the local government in disarray. He has instructed civil servants who are coordinated, district and municipal coordinating directors to take charge pending substantive appointments of DCs and MCs. So I don't know where the problem is coming from. I agree with President Mahama, and he has my full support. I believe that it will go a long way to ensure that things are properly done. DCs and MCs of MPP have been part and parcel of this wasteful governance that has transpired in the last 8 years. Why should they still be in office? The longer they stay in office, the more harm that they commit, and the more disadvantageous it will be for the people of Ghana. So I support President Mahama's moves.
Do you? It's the president's prerogative to do so. The Local Government Act mandates him to do so. So it really shouldn't be a problem, should it?
Well, Lantam, it is not a problem at all. There was a transitional team that was set in place. In the transitional team, the Act and the law states that there must be the Minister for Local Government, the head of local government, the head of public service, and the rest of the people, Minister for Interior, National Security, Foreign Affairs, Attorney General, Finance Minister, Chief of Staff, all of that. In that transitional period, the outgoing government transitions effectively into the incoming government. Clearly, President John Dramani Mahama has given indications to the Ghanaian people that he has a very limited time. His time is very short. He's got a 4-year mandate. He is in a hurry. He wants to get things running and get things done. And I'm very certain that the MCs and DCs have been very much aware that there's no way they are going to hold office. And so it's what has to be done, is the right thing that has to be done. He's clearly stating that at the central government level, he's preparing to get representatives to implement his policies and his government agenda at the local government level. And I've always stated that the two most impactful avenues of legacy is central government and local government. Local government is where you and I are. And for me, I want President John Dramani Mahama to succeed on 2 levels. 1, this is a legacy president for him. And 2, this is a cleansing of his name, of the past. And so anything that he will do to succeed, we would wish him the best, because it is in the interest of the Ghanaian people. Lantam, you and I are here. We are not going anywhere. If the country is good, it's good for you and I. If it is bad for you and I. But clearly, you can see the work that the Kufuor Bawumia-led government had done at the local level. One of my sad moments was when on the 19th or 17th of December 2019, when we were supposed to do the referendum, to be able to give mandate to the local level to appoint by election their own MMDCs and DCs. You recall that at the time we saw a very significant picture that many Ghanaians were happy about. It was a picture of the former President Jerry John Rawlings, a picture of the former President John Dramani Mahama, a picture of the former President John Ajokun Kufuor, and a picture of President Nana Addo Dankwa Kufuor. That these former presidents had seen the works that they had done. This sitting president had also seen the fact that if we give authority to the local level to select their own MMDCs, DCs, partisan, non-partisan, whichever way, it gives mandates to the people. We didn't see lights today of that. I know very well that it was the desire of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo to have seen that this would have come to fruition.
He started the process. I think everybody agreed with it. Even in Parliament,
absolutely.
Both the NDC and the MPP side at that time agreed that there should be election of MMDCs.
Absolutely.
I think the mode through which they should be elected is what was the bone of contention, right? Whether it should be partisan or it should not be partisan.
Yes,
that's what the problem was.
But you see, we had a very good opportunity at the time in 2019 to bring this into being through a referendum. I'm aware that in this presidency of John Dramani Mahama, the 4-year mandate, the onus lies on him with the mandate that he has to look at some reforms in the constitution and see to manifestation of some of these issues. But this is a very swift action by him, and it's a step in the right direction.
All right. Now let's talk about the looming power crisis, right? We know that yesterday, President John Dramani Mahama, formed a committee on power, right? Set up a technical team with a mandate to find solutions to the looming power crisis. And the team is expected to conclude its work by the close, or was supposed to complete its work by the close of yesterday, right? It's all because we don't have enough fuel to supply to our power plants to run. We rely heavily on gas. WAPCO needs to do maintenance, what they call pigging, on their pipelines, and so it'll have to be shut down for about a month or so. And if there is no gas supply, then it means we have to rely on the fuel. And we do not have the fuel or the crude oil. To do that, they will need about $90 million to do it. And even if we purchase the fuel, it will take time before it gets here. So it's a dicey situation that needs to be dealt with. And according to, GRIDCO, some of the key strategies to mitigate the impact of the fuel shortage and maintain grid stability include rescheduling the plant maintenance, securing alternative fuels, and load management measures. And the load management is what we don't want to hear.
Of course. Lantam. President Mahama has used 3 hours to do what the previous government could not do in 5 months. Because we were told that up until October 2024, when the maintenance was scheduled to happen, the ministry came to beg that they should hold on for them to buy fuel. Since that time, no fuel was bought for this period of time where it is greatly needed, where the maintenance is supposed to happen. This continues to vindicate the millions of the people of Ghana that voted for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He basically sat down with his people for 3 hours. And we have been able to order fuel to power our plants if the scheduled maintenance happens. And you see, there's a history to this. There's a reason why we are where we are today. This is a government that inherited, the former government. You see, sometimes it is important that we let the people of Ghana know where we came from and where we are. Do you know that at the last reckoning, the previous government had raked in 45 billion Ghana cedis from ESLA. It was in the vision of President Mahama that there will be a time that we need to pay energy sector debts. And so he created ESLA, which the MPP lampooned and poo-pooed. ESLA money or monies from ESLA has been securitized and the monies have been spent. They have been misused. In fact, at the last count, we heard that over 700 million Ghana cedis from ESLA proceeds had been used to pay a company called ESLA, called SML. whom themselves tell us that they have no capacity to do the work that they have been given by government. But the monies were paid to them. This is the government that inherited excess capacity. You recall that when they came into power, they said we have excess capacity. Is that not it, Lantam? Today, we do not even have fuel to power our plants. The whole energy sector.
Yeah, but if we have excess capacity and we don't have fuel, the excess capacity becomes.
But how do you have excess capacity and you have money that has been given to you to buy fuel and you have spent the money? And now the people of Ghana have to be in Doom. So this morning I has received a lot of calls for my family in the Ashanti region.
What are they saying?
They have been inundated with Doom. So several parts of the Bono region, the Bono region, has been inundated with Doom.
So what are they saying?
Just the first day that
Mahama has come back with Doom.
How is that possible? How can Mahama bring Doom on his first day?
Well, your opponents always accused, and even in the campaigning period, they said if Mahama comes, Mahama is bringing back Doom. So isn't it ironic?
No. Those are
John Mahama comes back into office and is confronted with Doom.
No. You see, the reason why the MPP lost by 1.7 million is because of some of this propaganda. Because the people of Ghana have seen through the lights that President Mahama cannot bring Doom on his first day. You understand the point I'm making? In fact, Great Coast's presentation showed that before the NDC actually won election, the government had not even made plans to buy fuel for this period of time. Look, in 2016, Great Coast made a profit of 14 million Ghana cedis. Do you know that in 2018 alone, they had made a loss of 600 million? Now, listen to me. They had made a loss of 600 million as compared to 14 million in 2016. Do you know that in 2016, ECG had made a profit of 500 million? Just 2022 alone, they made a loss of 10.5 billion. So, the whole energy sector has been inundated with debt and gross mismanagement. But this is a sector that was actually doing well. Several power plants had been bought. There was money sitting there. President Mahama had set up a Toabo gas plant, producing 120 million standard cubic feet of gas to supplement our power plants. They come into power, completely mismanages the money that have been left to them. And today, we are where we are today. But I am confident that the leadership of John Dramani Mahama, just like he demonstrated yesterday, in only a matter of 3 hours, the credibility of President Mahama alone, not even the money, the credibility alone secured Ghana the opportunity to get fuel from Nigeria. Because all the people that provide us with fuel, they know the level of mismanagement that occurred in the previous government. If you have 45 billion sitting in ESLA, you waste it, and now you have to buy fuel on credit. Who will repose confidence in you to give you fuel to power your power plants? So immediately President Mahama came. With only a 3 hours meeting, 3 hours, he was able to secure light crude oil, which is on its way to Ghana. But you see, when you read the Bible, Psalm 91 verse 7, the Bible says that 1,000 will fall on your left, 10,000 will fall on your right. It is only with your eye that you watch them, that nothing will happen to you. When you read Genesis 50 verse 20, the Bible says that what your enemies meant for evil, God meant for good. You recall that when the MPP lost the election, they told us that in the matter of 1 week they will be doing so. Do you know why? They have set the trap for President John Dramani Mahama. They knew that they had not bought fuel. And so when President Mahama assumes the reins of power, they will be doing so watching him. But I promise you that what they meant for evil for President John Dramani Mahama, the Lord has spoken. And with his vision and the sort of men, capable men that he works with, just a 3 hours meeting has been able to do what the MPP was not able to do in a matter of 5 months. So we will not engage in excuse making. We will take the bull by its horn. We will work assiduously. We have the track record of overturning the fortunes of an energy sector that was completely underperforming to an energy sector that is buoyant, is strong, and working. And so when it comes to the purchase of fuel, a man who buys power plants can certainly not have a problem with purchase of fuel. This is a man that brought in, Amandi, Asogli Phase 2, and other power plants. Short the energy capacity of Ghana of about 2,000 megawatts. So it will not be difficult for such a man to buy fuel for the same power plants that he brought on board. We are happy that we will lead the people of Ghana to light. We are happy that we will deliver on a mandate that has been given us. We will not engage in excuse making. The level of mismanage that dogged the energy sector will not repeat itself under the leadership of GHOne Dramani Mahama. And you see that, Lantam, it is not only the energy sector that has been completely mismanaged.
What else has been mismanaged?
Cocoa Board has completely mismanaged. For the first time in the history of Ghana, syndicated loans that were available to every government, invested shied away from the previous MPP government. Go to bust. Go to get fund. Everywhere you find yourself under the previous government, the whole country was overwhelmed with debts. In fact, in 2022, the Bank of Ghana posted 60 billion losses as compared to profits made in the government of GHOne Dramani Mahama. And so it is clear that the people of Ghana voted for change. They voted for reset. They voted for GHOne Dramani Mahama and his leadership to repose confidence in the system. He has hit the road running. Yesterday he had his first meeting, like we all saw. Far-reaching reforms are going to be made in our energy sector, in the purchase of fuel, in power plants, in management of, the facilities we have in our energy sector. And so doing so will never happen under GHOne Dramani Mahama. Just as the way he solved it before he left power, he has come back again to invest heavily in our energy sector for the massive industrialization that he wants to embark on, the 24 hours economy, the Jumeirah policy, National Women's Bank, agricultural enclaves,
24-hour economy,
agriculture industrialization, 1 million codes program, and all the policies that he mentioned to make sure that Ghana
60 minutes.
Yes, it brought back
scrapping e-levy, COVID levy.
Of course, to make sure that Ghana is brought back
first 90 days
onto the path of prosperity and development. The people of Ghana are waiting for what GHOne Dramani Mahama will do for the first 120. And I, as a young person, as I sit on this TV, I will repose and I am putting my credibility on the line. President, by the end of the first 120 days,
you will deliver.
The people of Ghana will know that they need the difference, and the votes that they voted will not be in vain.
120 days.
Thank you very much.
It will not take long for 120 days.
Of course,
so we'll be monitoring to see.
But of course,
did you intentionally set a trap for the NDC and GHOne Mahama to come and fall in with regard to the power situation in this country, so that he's tagged as the Doomso man is back? Immediately he comes into office, there is Doomso.
Lantam, of what use would that be to us? We would definitely not do that. You see, I look at governance in a very fluid manner and not static. The reason why the framers of the Transitional Act put in a 4-week transitional mandate for any government is to open up the books. We opened up our books. We transitioned effectively. We had kept the lights on considerably. You see, a nation that is not worth celebrating its leaders is not worth dying for. For President GHOne Dramani Mahama to send congratulatory messages to former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the friendships that they have had over the years, meant that he celebrates his leadership very clearly. And for the party NDC saying that the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government mismanaged energy sector when we have kept the lights on considerably from 2017 till date, to say that we set a trap for President GHOne Dramani to fall in, of what use?
It's been said you knew the problems within the energy sector, but you were just putting band-aids on it. And towards the end of Akufo-Addo's tenure, we had issues, with lights.
Of course.
And
you recall that the Minister for Energy clearly brought the communique out when we were in government at the time, that we have purchased fuel, Send Power is working, Aska is beginning to receive fuel. So of what use? We will not benefit in any way.
But it's said that you were supposed to put in place measures for fuel to have arrived by now. But the new administration comes into office, and during the transition, we're given assurances that have been done. And they come into office now, and they are confronted with the situation where, according to John Jinapo, we'll have about 5 hours of crude oil to power plants. Is that the best?
I am glad that President John Dramani Mahama has bought emergency fuel. My question is, how much is it costing the taxpayer? The emergency fuel that President John Dramani Mahama is getting from Nigeria and other places, how much is that costing the taxpayer? I think the Ghanaian people
90 million.
And we want to know, how much is that costing the taxpayer? We want to know. You see, because he's promised accountability. We want to know. But there is no way, Lantam, I can tell you, there is no way that the Kufuor Bawumia-led government sought to sabotage President John Dramani Mahama. You are aware that this election could have gone our way. You are aware. We would not have been sitting here having this conversation about Dumso, or that's why you see I'm concerned. That's why I said that this presidency for President John Dramani Mahama is a legacy president for him. It's a cleansing of his name. So that the tax that he had of incompetence, of Dumso, of all of those things, he's able to redeem himself during this period. Which is why, as a constructive opposition government, we are minded what we say. Because you see, Lantam, it's important. The President John Dramani Mahama has even stated that Edua Yedebo Techi and one Yedebo Ba. I'm glad my brother quoted very good scriptures, which is good. When you read the account of Luke, chapter 11, and you look at the story of the prodigal son, there are two aspects of it that often is not spoken about. The prodigal son is not just the one who returned, but also the one who stayed. But you see, we don't want to start. I want to wish President John Dramani Mahama the best. We don't want the Ghanaian people to be reminded of his challenges that he had when he was president in his first term. We have come to bridge that space of 8 years. So he has a fresh start. The young people that voted for him, he has a fresh start. Very, very fresh start for him in this government.
Has he started well? Do you think he started well?
Oh,
with what he's done
for me,
to try and avert any looming power crisis.
For me, I've always stated that leadership rises and falls at the top. President Mahama has started very well, very, very well. We don't want them to make excuses or give excuses. We don't want them to paint a picture of hopelessness. We don't want them to let the Ghanaian people feel they made a mistake in bringing them into office. Because today, all of us are living under a policy that is going to be implemented by the John Dramani Mahama-led government. And so, he has to do well and he has to succeed. It's in the interest of the Ghanaian people. So, yes, he started well. There are no energy crisis anywhere. No energy crisis anywhere. No really? Energy. Oh,
so what the government has been talking about is much ado about nothing.
Which government? The President John Dramani Mahama government.
The government.
The government.
Yes.
President John Dramani Mahama's government.
Yes. The Mahama Jainana
administration.
Yes.
Is saying that there is energy crisis.
Yes.
There's
a potential energy crisis that they have moved to avert.
This potential energy crisis is a mirage.
How?
You know what a mirage is.
How so? How is
you drive and the sun rays is reflecting on the streets. It's a mirage. Because that's what I'm saying, that look, Lantam, this election could have gone our way.
No, but looking at the situation on the ground,
and there is no way we want to sabotage this government.
Described it as a looming power. So, assuming he had not moved into putting the measures, or to try and put in the measures that he's trying to put in place, obviously would have returned or would have gone into a point where would have to be rationing power or would have no power.
Well, that would be his leadership. Because you see, Lantam,
because if maintenance was supposed to be done, towards the end of the year, and the government at the time, asked WAPCO to shift it to January, by which time they would have procured enough crude to last the period of the maintenance. And it's time for them to do the maintenance, and that has not been done.
No, but you see,
isn't that a looming crisis? If immediate steps are not taken to get the fuel for the WAPCO, or WAPCO, or the government as WAPCO to hold on again with their maintenance? The
former Minister for Energy, the Honorable Herbert Krapper, I'm sure that many people have seen his communique, that there's enough fuel for Sempa, that Aska is beginning to receive fuel. And so,
what are the others?
The promises that
we don't have only Aska and Sempa.
Of course. They are Sogli and all of those. Of course.
Sogli has no fuel, please.
So, of course. If you look at all of this, right, for me, very clearly, when we said January would have fuel, we have fuel. The lights are on. We've kept the lights on all these years.
Yeah, but how much fuel and for how long?
Oh, good enough fuel to last us. That's why I'm saying that it's good that,
because according to
it is good. It is good that
5 hours.
It's not 5 hours. What is 5 hours? Having 5 hours, and we still have light today. The emergency fuel they are bringing has not even arrived, and it's past 5 hours. It's past 5 hours. Lantam, it's past 5 hours from the time of the swearing in, 7th, at the time when John Jinapo was interviewed. It's past 5 hours. It's almost 48 hours.
Some small gas left.
No,
the gas finishes.
Lantam. Let's be
in terms of reserves, fuel reserves.
Lantam, let's be
for when what we are using now finishes.
Let's be magnanimous. If their emergency fuel does not come in 3 days, we'll have light, because we worked very well. That's what I'm saying. We worked very well. You understand? So let's allow the government of John Dramani Mahama to work.
Right.
The emergency fuel they have brought in, we want to see clear accountability of how much it cost. And I'm very certain that, once all of these things are put in place, the Ghanaian people will be very pleased.
All right. Dr. Aye.
Lantam, you see, it is the height of dishonesty and it's the height of dishonesty for my senior brother Palgrave to say that there is no looming energy crisis when the evidence, like you rightfully said, points differently. GHOne's presentation is clear that they initially intended to do the pegging exercise somewhere in October.
Yeah.
It was the energy ministry that pleaded that it should be extended so that the government can have an ample time to buy fuel. Is that not it? Now, if if WAPCO does so, and you fail to buy that fuel, it means that there is a looming energy crisis. What it means is that if the new government, under the leadership of John Dramani Mahama, is unable to do that, you plunge this country in doom so, and that will be a problem you have caused. And you sit on TV and deny the obvious fact that your government has completely, recklessly mismanaged the energy sector in the way we are seeing today. You understand the point I'm making? And so you must be candid enough. You must respect the people watching you this morning. Lantam, didn't you follow the GHOne presentation? The figures they posted, the quantity of fuel left that they posted. Don't you know that today, Asogli does not have fuel? Is it not a fact? Is it not a fact that Senate has only 21 days of fuel? The days the maintenance will be happening, do we have enough fuel to supplement that? The answer is no. So on what basis do you say that there is no looming energy crisis? I think that my senior paragraph should be very honest and candid to the people watching at this morning. And I will not dabble in excuses. I am very confident in the leadership of John Dramani Mahama, just like he demonstrated yesterday. What he has done, or what previous government could not use 5 months to do, President John Dramani Mahama has used 3 hours. Just a meeting of 3 hours. He used his credibility, he's used his political influence to secure fuel to supplement what we have today in order to avert the situation of doom so that we may be having because of the recklessness of the previous government. And so this morning I am happy that the outcome of the meeting yesterday is very fruitful, and that there is always light at the end of the tunnel if you have John Dramani Mahama in the leadership position. The people of Ghana are happy that the vote that they voted for John Dramani Mahama, he has already hit the road. He's making far-reaching changes in the destiny and fortunes.
And Dumso is not coming back.
Dumso is definitely not going to come back, because this is the man who has done it before. The
man who solved Dumso,
of course,
has come back to meet Dumso.
Of course,
so he'll solve it again.
Of course, they say the YB Daniel friend Ayebwafo. This is the man that brought in Atwabo gas plant, brought in power plant, brought in Amihere, brought in Esla, all that. So this man is just to come and buy fuel. I don't think that this is a problem. But it is for all the people of Ghana to know that the MPP is an aberration that must never be allowed to repeat itself.
Oh, is that so?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Dr. Bwachidamma.
It's too early for
let me give you the final word to you, because we have to wrap it up.
For me, my final words really is to wish President John Dramani Mahama the best, wish his Vice President the best, wish the new government the best in their work. We would be here to support them, make suggestions where we have to, constructively criticize where we have to, in the interest of the Ghanaian people.
All right, very well. We'll wrap up the breakfast review segment at this time. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us in the studio. Dr. Palgrave Bwachidamma of the NPP. He used to be government spokesperson on governance and security. Now he's... Oh, no, why are you laughing? Member of the MPP. And Dr. Amihere, also of the NDC. Thank you very much for joining us. Stay tuned. When we return, we have another very important conversation coming up. Special aide to President John Dramani Mahama will be here in the studio, and we'll be having a conversation with her, right? President Mahama has taken over the reins of government. He's already hit the ground running. He's working. There are things that we expect him to do in his first 14 days, in his first 90 days, in his first 120 days. How are all of these things going to shape up? Joyce Bar Mokhtari will be here to tell us all about that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
John Dramani Mahama.
I, John Dramani Mahama.
Nipa baako pɛ ɛna Ghana for hwɛ na adwuma so a ɔte da bi owura ɔade deɛ ɛnsɔ ani ɛnkɔ yie tete ase.
I'll allow history to be the judge of how I have served my nation.
Congratulations, sir.
I also give thanks to God for preparing a table before me in the presence of my enemies.
Mahama was born on 29th November 1958 in Damongo, the then capital of the West Gonja district of the Northern Region, to Emmanuel Adama Mahama, the West Gonja constituency MP and the first regional commissioner of the Northern Region under Ghana's first leader, President Kwame Nkrumah. He received his basic education at Achimota Basic School and later moved to the Ghana Secondary School in Tamale. In 1981, he received a Bachelor of Arts degree in history, but was forced to flee to Nigeria, where his father was living in exile. He returned to Ghana in 1983 and enrolled in a postgraduate program in communication studies at the University of Ghana and a postgraduate degree in social psychology from the Institute of Social Sciences in Moscow in 1988. Mr. Mahama was employed as an information officer at the Embassy of Japan in the Republic of Ghana from 1999 to 1995 and moved on to join the non-governmental organization Plan International as a sponsorship and grants manager in the Ghana country office from 1995 to 1996. It wasn't until 1996 that John Dramani Mahama entered Ghanaian politics. He joined the National Democratic Congress, NDC, and was elected to the Parliament of Ghana to represent the Bole Bamboi constituency. 2008 was a defining moment for Mr. Mahama as he partnered the late Professor John Evans Atta Mills to helm the affairs of government from 2009 to July 2012. On Wednesday, 7th January 2009, John Dramani Mahama was sworn into office as the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. On 24th July 2012, then Vice President Mahama became President, assuming command of the nation following the death of GHOne Professor John Evans Atta Mills. And when the December 2012 presidential election rolled by, Mr. Mahama won a new term with 50.7% of the vote, marking his first time being elected president.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere, and it's time for Heart Talk. This morning on Heart Talk, I'm sitting with a special aide to President John Dramani Mahama. The last time I engaged her, I called her the special aide to the former president and flag bearer of the NDC. Today, she's special aide to the President John Dramani Mahama, a title that many of us, and when I say us, including me, believe will be changing very, very soon. Joyce Bawa Mukhtari, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning. Good morning to the delectable Serwaa Amihere.
It's good to have you.
My pleasure.
And you were looking very nice on Tuesday.
Well, you know, the competition is very keen. And somehow I just said to Aisha, I just want something unique. Yes, and I think that's all. And she asked me what? I said, you know me, anything. Just fully covered, decent. The only thing I didn't want was to have a full-length skirt. I thought that for a change, a three-quarter skirt would be it. And I think that's about it, nothing more.
And you've gone viral since then with
very
your photo.
Simple, nothing more. We didn't even know what to do with the little flap on the top because she gave me this little sort of busty of sauce. And so I actually took the photo she sent me. I sent it to my sister. And so we had to decide how to have it. And it was the best. And then she kept asking me, so Auntie Joyce, should I put it on this way and put a little button? I said, yes. Don't do anything. Just leave it as it is. I think sometimes everything works for the common good.
You looked lovely.
Yes.
I'm sure that you've heard that many times.
I think I loved it too.
And congratulations on a successful event, the inauguration. A very beautiful spectacle. I'm sure that you've heard many feedbacks.
Yes,
what amount of work went into it, and who was behind all of it?
A great deal. Nights, hours, painstaking planning. And I think one thing I must say is that for the first time, I saw a whole architectural design of what the stage should look like. Literally, like designing a home. And he had a sense of where the seating should be, who should go where, and how it should go.
When you say he, who?
I think that this was actually set up largely by Standobi.
Okay.
Remember the first time the conversation came, it was myself, Omani, him, His Excellency President Mahama, and a few others. And then all he said was, I'm going to deliver a world-class production. If you know Stan, I always tell people that Stan selects his clothes very carefully. For a man, he's a guy who likes to preen himself a lot. And so when you look at him, aesthetically, it is just how he lives his life. But you see, funny enough, he works in a lot of chaos.
Right.
A lot of chaos. But you see the beauty about Stan, and I decided to find out a few years ago why he's so methodical, why he's so mathematical. I knew that, well, we all knew Stan from Joy FM. He's a media guy, he's a comms guy, he's a PR person. We all used to all of that. He writes very well, he's a great editor, name it. If you want someone to fix anything, just call Stan and you would have it done. But then I tried to have a conversation with someone who was his classmate and knew him quite well. And she goes, but in secondary school, Stan was a science student. I thought you were joking. She was like, yeah. I said, how? She said, yes, right up to A-levels. And you see, for me, maybe because I have a son who is also mathematically gifted, I tell people all the time that I take it from my father's day. Because my father at a point was a math teacher. When you can think in figures, you are very methodical in everything that you deliver. For those of us who can think in letters, we're usually very verbose and we try to explain things all the time and in so many words. But for people who are mathematically, gifted, there's a way that they use figures, a sense of methodism. They're very technical, they're very organized. They do things very well. So several years ago, there we were trying to interview a set of new staff for this institution I used to work for. Someone appeared from the University of Central with a first class. And then there was a gentleman from a very obscure part of Ghana who came in with a third class. And he had read mathematics at the University of Ghana. I stood up and we gave him the job. Almost 14 years later, he is the mind keeping that institution together. I've always believed in what mathematics can do for an individual in any sphere of life. Check those science students who came to law school with us, or those physicists who came to law school. Just look at how they do stuff, and you realize that they are totally very different. I think that this was a great choreographed project. He took it very seriously. Don't forget that we literally were babysitters of the office of the former president. And I always say we're a club of three. Be that as it may, we have survived.
A club of three, you, Stan, and
Dr. Manibuama.
Dr. Manibuama.
This is the original trio. And I still remember our conversations about whether or not Mr. Mahama would contest again, and whether or not 2020 was the time to go for it, or to wait till 2024. We've come a very long way. I always call myself the addition to the evil twins, because those two are like twins in a pod.
Right.
They can plot anything, they can discuss anything. They literally are lip brothers, and I think that I'm the younger sister who joined the two men. And I think it's worked beautifully for us in our dedication, in our loyalty, and in our commitment to our boss. And I think our talents have come together very, very well. So on this occasion, I must confess that Event PR, and they carried us from day one.
Right.
Yes, from day one. When no TV station, media house, or radio station was even interested, they took it all the way to the 2024 elections. Each time I speak to the very early days, I get very emotional. It is actually to the glory of God that today we can all sit here to celebrate this once onerous and arduous task, but now that has actually ended in this beautifully successful story.
How much of the work, I mean, you've talked about all that was done by you, but how much of the work involved the outgone administration? Did they partake? Did they contribute in any way?
I think that we worked very closely with the State Protocol Department, but I believe that in terms of the arrangements, in terms of choreographing, in terms of the production, largely the mastermind behind it must certainly be Mr. Dogwe. And of course his team of workers. And I believe that Auntie Afi of Jandel actually also had people who, she has a very huge entertainment industry and a huge decoration and event management industry. So I believe in the background, they were there as supporting to deliver on the outcome. But I believe that all in all, most of the work was actually done largely by the incoming administration, more or less. As a party, we have enormous talent. And that's the beauty about the National Democratic Congress. A lot of multi-talented individuals who have all come together. And when you look at how this campaign outside of the event of the inauguration was actually choreographed, you'll realize that most of the volunteers were these young, bright, smart people.
Who invited the heads of state?
Usually it's a combination. But most of the invitations will definitely be coming from the incoming administration. We had traveled to at least 9 countries in the week running up to the inauguration so that he could formally thank them for their support and actually formally invite them also to attend. I believe that mostly what we saw is the goodwill that accompanied Mr. Mahama's return to office.
And on that, were you surprised by the turnout? We understand that about 20 heads of state were there.
I wasn't surprised at all. As an individual, and I believe from my very early memories of this whole, period, I'm sure that I've known Mr. Mahama maybe literally for all of my life. I have always believed in him that there was something that is very unique and special about his leadership qualities. That he may not be a leader in the aggressive and boisterous sense that we are used to, but in all his demure and cutesy approaches, he must be a great mind. He reads a lot. He's a voracious reader, and he's a very experienced technocrat. And when you listen to the conversations leading up to the election in particular, some of the key decisions that were made even at IPAC were influenced by him. And the best of Mr. Mahama is that on a very little matter, he will invite 3, 4, 5, 6 people and he'll pick your thoughts on just about anything. And then eventually he will put all the views together and he'll arrive at just what he thinks is the right thing to do. The one thing I like about him is when he's at the last word, he will say to you, look, I've been here a long time and I know these things. And somehow it always works. Look, Serwaa, we're spiritual people. Let's agree that God literally loves some people maybe more than others. Or God actually has a certain destiny that he attaches to some more than others. Or in many ways, God definitely still works in the affairs of men. And last night I told the First Lady, Mrs. Lordina Mahama, that I'm actually tapping into her blessings. Not for myself, but for everybody else. Because note that in every successful conversation, there's also a strong partnership of support, of advice, and good counsel.
Right.
Many a time we forget the backdoor people because we always pray for destiny helpers. But I say it in another way, that even the servants bring their destinies to bear on the boss's own destiny. And together, you're able to create a certain synergy. So does a man's family, so does a man's wife and his children, or a wife's husband and her children. I think that is just how God intended for this beautiful, unprecedented and unparalleled history to happen. Look, I always said that we're on the cusp of doing something great. And I believe that we achieved just that with the glory of God. Even the day when the results were coming in, Mr. Mahama was shocked. Even though he knew, he was very optimistic. A few days to, we'd all talk about maybe a concession speech, the possibility of one. But he was very optimistic.
I mean, not to jump the gun, but now that you have mentioned, the results, because I want us to focus on the inauguration and discuss in detail the speech of the president. But speaking of the results, I am sure that you have heard your colleagues on the other side say that looking at the numbers, the NDC didn't appreciate much in terms of numbers, and that their supporters just didn't come out to vote. So yes, the NDC may have won, but the numbers aren't anything to write home about.
You see, we will not be taking moral lessons from a failed administration, a failed political party, a failed political tradition, and a failed democratic party. I don't want us to even focus on that. Let's focus on the narrative. Let's focus on the outcome. We beat them fair and square. We beat them down and out. They really have to start to learn to be a little bit more humble. I believe that if there's any lesson we've all taken from this election, we ought to respect the will of the people, respect the electorate, respect those who make us who we are. I tell people all the time, Serwaa, I've worked in many amazing environments, many places. The sorts of platform that politics affords us must keep us very grounded and humble, because it gives you a platform like no other. But for politics, how many interviews would I have with you? And of course, I remember my very first interview on any television station was with your sister Nana Banamwa when I was working then with the Ghana Shippers Authority. I didn't even then know that I would ever actually be occupying the space that I do. Your boss's success will rub off you any day, any time. Your boss's good will rub off you anytime, any day. Your boss's goodwill will help you even shine. But your personal attributes will also help your boss in many ways. And I believe that on this occasion, the NDC prosecuted a very strategic campaign. We had taught this country 3 consecutive times in one election cycle. In the aftermath, in the run-up to the main campaign, we had 4, 5 teams, one led by Mr. Mahama himself, the second one by his running mate and now Vice President, Professor Jenana Opoku-Agyeman, and the third one led by the party chairman, the Honorable Asedun Ketia, and then the many others, one by the National Communications Officer, one by the Deputy Communications Director of the party. It was a multi-faceted campaign. We left no stone unturned. We worked very hard for this victory. On this occasion, credibility, trustworthiness, reliability, affability, modesty, and a strategic campaign message worked in our favor. Let nobody who has failed to deliver after 8 years try to give you a story or to change the narrative. This plot ain't about the New Patriotic Party. This plot is not about former President Akufo-Addo. It is not about former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And you saw that moment when the former Vice President paid abeyance to John Dramani Mahama. That photograph speaks volumes. That on this occasion, my brother was the better man, and he won.
Okay.
It's sportsmanship.
Okay, let's come back to the inauguration. And before we get into the speech by the president, there are some concerns raised about the visible possession of a firearm by the Burkinabe head of state. I am sure that you have read and listened to some of the concerns. Even Kwesi Enin, who is a security expert, speaking with my colleague Nadede yesterday, said that it was a breach in protocol. Were you worried as a team seeing that visible firearm?
We had actually visited him in Burkina Faso.
Okay.
So I figured that him and Mr. Mahama had very good working relations. They had very good diplomatic ties. That this is a man that for many years, I had never met him, but I had heard how he had referenced late former President GHOne Rawlings as one of his mentors. And in many of his speeches has sought to emulate that example. On this occasion, whatever the reasons were, don't forget that we were naturally not in charge of security, for example. I mean, the first time I actually saw him was when he appeared on the screen to pay his homage to President John Dramani Mahama. But you see, Serwaa, look at the applause that greeted his arrival and approach to the dais. You see, there is something about strength of characters and the strength of a leader And you can tell that young people like to interact with these sorts of leaders. And of course, certainly, I don't think that he intended to use it for any purpose other than maybe personally to defend himself in the event. Because remember, he's a military guy. You know, it is very important the gun probably didn't have any pellets in it. None of us would know. I have listened to many schools of thought. I think that as they say, the rest is history. I don't want to put too much pressure on it, but if there's anybody who probably can convince him to return to democratic rule, I'm sure the guy is John Dramani Mahama. Let's see how events unfold.
So at no point was the team worried seeing him carry that fire?
I don't think that anybody, you know, except for those who were in charge of security, and maybe when you meet them, you can ask them. Because personally,
who was the police?
Oh, the police were there, the military was there, the immigration was there.
But as a very crucial part of the president's team, were you not worried?
I don't believe that immediately that anybody even noticed. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You know, most people probably didn't even pay attention. And don't forget, he had a huge retinue of his own military staff that were actually working with him until he got to that last point. But I also do know that he's a very warm-hearted leader, and I know he shares very warm ties with President John Dramani Mahama.
But subsequently, after seeing the photos and the concerns, what does the team make of it?
So
what has the president said?
You know me when I would not give you an answer. It is not a conversation that we've had. I know that man, Traore, is not in any way going to try and harm anybody, that he was just wearing his typical daily uniform. And I may not want to repeat the history of Ghana itself here. Don't forget that years ago, when we were all probably very young kids, late former President GHOne Rawlings literally appeared in the same way in many pictures and at many events, if you remember. So, you know, the military coup leaders have a certain outlook. They're very different from their democratically elected leaders. So let's just allow that to remain as a rather unique part of this beautiful inauguration. Okay. The important thing is that everything went beautifully. You see, when God decides to bless you, he will make it so beautiful that it would confound men, it will elude women. It would continue to be a very, very unique experience for a very long time. Right. And I saw an interesting post that said that since Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's election, very few leaders have garnered 57% in any election. So this election was won by the good Lord and the great people of Ghana. They must have had a very good reason why they wanted to overwhelmingly support the National Democratic Congress and its candidate. It must be a very humbling experience. And I know that unparalleled, unprecedented, and historic as it is, all of us are very, very humbled by this. And look, we had a great team going into the election. Look at our members of parliament. Look at the commitment. Look at the dedication. Look at how they crisscrossed the country. For the first time, you had MPs leaving their constituencies and traveling the length and breadth of Ghana. You had them all over, across this country. We worked very hard for what actually was encapsulated in this very, very beautiful, aesthetically modern inaugural ceremony that we had. I would not take anything away from it, and certainly the narrative must stay on the page that this was an election won on the backs and hard work of a great leader and great leaders and fantastic campaigners. And we had a fantastic message.
Okay, let's come to the speech, the 7-page speech of the president. He said on that day that he will be focusing his efforts on 4 critical areas, which include economic restoration and stabilization of the macroeconomic environment, improvement of the business investment environment, governance and constitutional reforms, and then accountability and the fight against corruption. Yes. I want us to take it one after the other. Yeah. Let's start with accountability and the fight against corruption, because oral seems to be in the news very lately, and they've been trending. You are very well aware. And many are confused about the mandate of oral. What are the terms of reference for oral?
You know, look, very, very straightforward. And on the campaign trail, you can cross-check. In each of the 275, now 276 constituencies, all that Ghanaians were asking for was transparency, more accountability, and largely a better and stronger fight against corruption. You know, listen to the fact that the preamble to all of our constitutions since the 1968 Constitution speak largely to accountability, transparency, and above all, sincere and equally acceptable societies for us as a people. Don't forget that corruption was a big part of the last few years. Enormous nepotism that actually bred corruption like never before, involving huge sums of public resources. On the National Cathedral alone, we've expended close to $60 million with nothing to show. On PDS, we expended almost $12 million with nothing to show. Indeed, we lost the Millennium Compact, which was actually going to fund electricity and power distribution in our country because of clanism and a fight within the nepotistic administration that the erstwhile administration was leading. We have the issue to do with the Papanko Dam, a matter that is actually very close to my heart as a person because it would have served largely regions across the white and black Volta. Imagine that we had the Papanko Dam. It means that we can cultivate food all year round. The only reason why we are unable to do that is water. We were told by the then candidate on the other side of the MPP that the biggest intervention that they have made in the northernmost parts of Ghana is the Papanko Dam. $11.8 million later, there is nothing to show. In a debate on one of your sister platforms, we were told that they had expended these resources on topographical and topological arrangements. Who does that?
So what exactly is Oral supposed to do?
So Oral is supposed to be a preparatory team to receive as much information as possible whilst government sets its administration in place. Whilst we are working to harness what goodwill we have, we must also clearly demonstrate in a very public way our commitment to fight corruption.
So
and
they're going to be collecting information?
They are literally to collect information.
And they're not going to be working with any powers?
Their powers are simply that. Receive information on the sidelines of the transition team. Don't forget that there are many committees within the transition. And so the Oral is part of these committees on governance in particular, receiving information because first, you must preserve evidence. Secondly, you must also protect witnesses. Thirdly, you must also create an avenue where well-meaning Ghanaians, citizens can bring information and be happy to do so. Look at the composition of the team. Don't forget the Honorable Ablakwa, a man who's been in this corner all these years, largely in support of the NDC, in support of GHOne Mahama, in support of the campaign, a member of parliament himself. Indeed, he chairs the the Parliamentary Assurance Committee, and so has always been at the forefront of this fight against corruption. It is chaired by him. All the information he was getting before, he was getting them without any terms of reference.
So on what legal backing are they supposed to be doing these things? Are we going to be seeing, a new creation of an anti-graft body to back Oral?
We are going to very soon have the Attorney General in place.
Okay.
That's the first point of call. We've gotten the Government Council in place. The next thing you're going to do is that you're going to have the Special Prosecutor's Office. There's also a decision on whether to retain that office or not. But Mr. Mahama has spoken about governance, and that constitutionally we are actually going to strengthen all the anti-corruption governance institutions. Civil society is another strong voice and pillar in the fight against corruption. And you've heard them all welcome the terms of reference of this particular composition.
So Oral's job ends when?
As soon as the Attorney General is in office, they will hand over their report. Indeed, as soon as the Attorney General comes, he will receive this report. It is now their responsibility to gather information, to investigate, and decide on whether or not prosecutions are supposed to be the next
Right,
step.
so for clarity purposes, Oral ends when there's an Attorney General?
Absolutely, certainly.
And
their mandate actually is supposed to deliver on the sidelines of the Transition Committee. So their report at the first point of call will be part of the Transition Committee's work.
Okay, but I'm sure that you have seen concerns that these things that the Oral preparatory team is doing are things that can be done by the police, can be done by YOCO, can be done by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and other institutions.
If those institutions were not so strongly, heavily burdened by over-partisanship, you think they would not have been doing the job? The Special Prosecutor, we had the first one, that was the Honorable Martin Amidu, How did he leave office? Ingloriously, and resigned, and told us that former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was actually more corrupt even than the people he was prosecuting or persecuting. And then subsequently we had the Honorable Kisia Jabe, who himself has not had it easy. So I believe that there's so many bottlenecks. One of the best things that has happened since the change in government, Serwaa, has been the fact that everybody is now openly relieved.
The
People
heads
are
of these
free to talk and have
institutions,
liberty so to do.
the heads of these institutions, Joyce, is the president looking at keeping them?
You know, that is not my decision or my call to make. I am sure that the president, in his own wisdom, in consultation with the many teams and many advisors that he has, will be deciding. Look, we mean business. And if we stem corruption, if we reduce it even by 70%, Serwaa, I am betting you that the many people who go to sleep on an empty stomach will have something little to go on. I've counted a few things, right from the cash receipts all the way down. Tell me, imagine that we could even retrieve part of these monies. Can you imagine what they can be used for? $58 million on that cathedral. Think about it, Serwaa. Agenda 111 has been left hanging. We need 1.4 billion to complete. A wealthy nation is also a healthy nation. So health facilities are important. But health facilities need a lot of resources, money to set them up, to construct them. And so when we have these conversations, know that if we can fight and succeed in this fight against corruption, all of us, you and I, will be better off. Go around the regions. And you see, I feel very strongly about two things. One is the fight against corruption. Secondly is job creation. These two things actually seem to threaten and undermine our democracy in ways that you never imagined. When those young children, youth, applauded the Burkinabe leader, people were surprised, but I wasn't. People want to see dynamism. They want to see a different kind of leadership. If there's anything that I take away from this re-election of President John Dramani Mahama and of course Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, is the fact that they have young children in that age category who are also looking for these same jobs and opportunities. We want them to hope again. We want them to dream again. We want them to believe in Ghana. So when Mr. Mahama ended his speech on the fact that Ghana is once again open for business, that stood out for me. Check the foreign direct investment over the last 8 years. Many of the investments have left. Go to the western region, home to most of Ghana's natural resources. Where are all the investments? Where is the promise of the oil and gas find? Today we are struggling for gas, struggling for oil. When Mr. Mahama left behind thermal power plants that are multifaceted, can use both gas and light crude oil. And government spends all these huge sums of money on matters that are not priorities, matters that would not put food on the table. Huge sums of money wasted with nothing to show. We are hugely and heavily indebted. Ghana is actually currently unable even to go and borrow from international markets. We still have the DDEP. We have a poor and bankrupt economy, and largely the cedi is struggling even to compete against other currencies. These are very serious matters. So when Mr. Mahama speaks about economic restoration, Serwaa, that is just how to describe it. We need to restore, we need to reset, we need to woo back the investors. We need also to build back trust in our nascent democracy, because most of our youth are very apathetic suddenly. There must be a way that you restore hope, and you cannot do that if you don't restore this fledgling economy. Okay. It is actually the barometer on which everything else rests.
I want us to talk about the president's 120-day contract, which he promised while campaigning, and look at the corruption fight in that. Yes. But before then, I mean, when there were concerns raised about the oral team and inclusion of women, I saw what you wrote about it, so that you had noted it. It's been about 3 weeks, and we haven't heard anything. What's happening?
So there were many other governance committees on the sidelines. We had the Venerable Dr. Valerie Sawyer serving at a very high level. We also had the Honorable Marietta Brew serving on the governance team. We had many other women on these transition teams. And when you go there, you see them. The Secretariat There are many young professional women handling the secretariat, for example. So basically, you know, look, these things come with all sorts of ramifications. But I say to you every day, the biggest celebration worthy of mention any day is the nomination and eventual confirmation of Professor Jenan Opoku-Agyeman as Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. Right. That is the biggest constituent. And all of us must, in any small way, never lose sight of this new dawn, this new era, where Ghana has actually shown the way by picking up not just any female, an accomplished female academic, not just of local, but also of international repute and standing. A great woman by all standards as Vice President of Ghana. Many great things are happening for the sisterhood. Let's be very sincere and be honest about that. And many other appointments will follow. Look, the President of Ghana will be making in excess of over 5,000 appointments at the local government area, in governance, many institutions, in banking, in oil and gas, many sectors, many. So there are so many appointments to be filled. And you heard about the first set in the Jubilee House, for example. We have the senior advisor on governmental affairs, our big sister and boss, Dr. Valerie Sawyer, an accomplished academic herself. We have the former Attorney General, the distinguished Marietta Brewer-Apia, and she will also be there also. So we have many of these very distinguished women. I've told you, there's one thing that the NDC can boast of, that is talent and a great skill set. You've seen our young people, you've seen our middle-level people, you've seen our leadership. This is one great political party, the one that is actually clearly more representative than any other political party in the history of this country. Look at the map of the elections. Look at the members of parliament across the 16 regions of Ghana. The NGC enjoys enormous support. We don't take this lightly.
Okay, let's still talk about the fight against corruption, and now with reference to the 120-day social contract. Item 13 of the contract says that the president will institute inquiries and or forensic audits into the following matters of public interest, and then list the collapse of the indigenous Ghanaian banks and financial institutions, illegal printing of money, the National Cathedral scandal, illegal inflated single source contracts, the COVID-19 expenditure scandal, PDS, Ijapa, SML, the ambulance spare parts deal, the Polugu Dam, which you say is very, personal to you, the Galamsey fraud, missing excavators, the Sputnik V, bus scandal, and the others. Is the oral team the one expected to handle all of these investigations?
Don't forget that the bodies that do investigations largely are actually on the instructions of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
Right.
So like I indicated earlier, as soon as the Attorney General's appointment comes through, whoever occupies that high office will be the very first to instruct for these very formal investigations to commence. That is when people can then be invited to answer questions. That is when people can then start or institute prosecutions where they're required or where the Attorney General in his own wisdom deems it fit. Indeed, these are all matters that are very close to the hearts of many Ghanaians.
Right. So these are not specifically the things that the oral preparatory team is looking into.
Preparatory.
Yes. They are not things that they are looking
into.
They
will receive information on all of these things.
Right.
It just actually makes the work of the Attorney General easier. It also means that time no day. We want to focus on the things that matter. We want in very timely fashion to deliver on whatever promises we've made. Remember that the people who left largely because they failed to deliver. Mr. Mahama is on a legacy agenda, okay, to make a mark. He is a statesman who comes to the job with enormous experience. And having traveled the length and breadth of Ghana, we all know what matters to the good people of Ghana. Nobody will forgive us if we fail to investigate, if we fail to recover where necessary, and if we fail also to commit to making sure that we do not repeat the history and mistakes of the past administration.
Okay, but is it that, judging by this 120, day contract with the Ghanaian people, that by the 120th day, the audit reports of these scandals will be ready for the public to see, or the investigations and the inquiry will begin after the 120th day?
Once you have a report, it's very easy to audit. Indeed, the matters that you mentioned are all matters that came to our attention because they were audit reports, if you remember, whether forensic or otherwise. And the work of the Public Accounts Committee, for example, exposed most of these, financial loss issues. So there are already reports, really, many of them. So all we need to do is to consolidate these reports, to reconcile them where necessary, and certainly to start to ask questions about where all these monies have gone to.
So when will we start getting that information? Within the 120 days or after the 120
Well, within, and we've started. It is why the terms of reference for the oral committee are very straightforward. And you know that in the next few days, in 2 weeks, Mr. Mahama has promised that he will have the full complement of his cabinet. And it also tells you that it's because of the relevance and importance of these matters to do with the fight against corruption that we have no meaner person than the former Attorney General of Ghana to be legal counsel at the presidency. That should tell you that this is very serious business. So Mr. Mahama would have immediately someone advising. I've told you that Dr. Valerie Sawyer is an academic and a lawyer also. And certainly we have these very great and beautiful minds who will be there, and we have the Chief of Staff in place. So there's already a lot of work going on. And I have no doubt that in the 120 days, look, that is a social contract. So we must at least be willing to deliver. And people must be assured, doubly assured and reassured that this is a man who comes to this job with a commitment like no other. And he's hit the ground running. Yesterday was his first day at work. You saw the nature of the meetings we had, mostly bordering on what? Finance, on energy, on power, and the critical things that actually should kickstart the work of any new administration. The most important thing is to get the economy running. Secondly, is to work on power distribution challenges. Thirdly, is to continue to ensure that in the next 2 weeks, he has a full complement of his cabinet in place so that we can kickstart the work that the transition team will be handing over to the new government.
All right, for those who are asking, we'll certainly talk about the power crisis before Joyce leaves the studio. But how do you respond to those who say that Operation Recover All Loot is just a message to make the masses and the base happy? Because, you know, apart from the Smarties bus scandal under the John Mahama administration then, where monies were recovered, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall any other contract where funds have been recovered, which are being bloated and have been recovered back to the states.
Well, do you remember that there was a national service scandal under Mr. Mahama, which was fully investigated? You remember that there was a matter to do with, there was another one that was even investigated and people were prosecuted and even served prison terms, if you remember.
But we weren't able to recover state funds.
Well, in some cases we did.
That's what I'm saying. I know of the Smarties bus scandal.
Oh, there are many others that maybe I probably don't have immediately at my fingertips. But there are many of those sorts of situations. And if you remember, one good thing of Mr. Mahama's administration, and maybe we all forget, is that all these matters were investigated by the Attorney General at the time. And none of these things were swept under the carpet. And I don't recall Mr. Mahama coming out to tell you and I or anybody that he was sweeping anything under the carpet or that he was clearing any of his appointees. And I recall that that was one of the strongest selling points for us in this campaign, that Mr. Mahama's very, very worst record on the fight against corruption was actually the very best for President Akufo-Addo, now former President Akufo-Addo. You know, Serwaa, Ghanaians are very, very conscious. There's a certain new consciousness. People know what they expect of their leaders. People know what they want. Don't forget that the MPP assumed that on the back of all their failings, they would somehow survive. But look at how resounding and overwhelming the rejection was. A complete annihilation, a complete repudiation of everything New Patriotic Party. And if you look, because you also go back to matters within the other Mahama administration, imagine that the levels of corruption stories that they used to whip on the back of those stories. Make comparisons now. The one lump of the $58 million expended on the cathedral alone literally wipes out every story in terms of finances that you speak of, even under Mahama. You see, Mahama and Mills had something going. They at least made attempts to fight corruption.
This government didn't? I mean, the outgone government didn't at all?
Even in the Sona, he told you that everybody that he cleared because they had been investigated.
But he wasn't doing the investigation, was he?
We heard about Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, for example. We heard about the matters to do with Charles Bissell, for example. We heard about the fact that many government appointees in the erstwhile administration, and you heard President Mahama speak very boldly to the fact that if my appointees are coming into office to come and do galamsey or even engage in any form of mining, then you know that you don't have a place in my administration. Okay. And these are matters that bother the good people of Ghana. You know, Serwaa, I don't want us to sit here and compare peaches and apples. GHOne Mahama is a man who has clearly been vindicated on everything he did and everything he told us.
So Joyce, is it a firm promise by GHOne Mahama that state funds would actually be recovered? And I ask you this specifically because, yes, you say that there are some other instances where funds have been recovered, but let's take the past administration, for instance. We know that the case of Atuasian, it took us about 5 years to secure a conviction. And we didn't even get anything of the stolen funds, a chunk of it. We didn't get it, and it took about 5 years. How are you promising these people, the Ghanaian people, that truly, and Mr. Mahama has what, 4 years to be in office. We know how these processes go, how long and dragging they can be. And in this instance, the persons who are named have the right to go and challenge the surcharge. What is the firm promise, really, that you're going to recover some of these funds for the state?
So, to all my years of experience as a lawyer, and to you as a student of law coming in very, very soon, the wheels of justice, no matter how slow they grind, they will eventually swing towards something. But there's one thing you need to know, that a lot of these examples you're giving, they lost properties. If you remember, their properties were confiscated to the state. For example, the state auctions of these properties at high value sometimes. They recover these monies. Maybe what you should be telling us is that in future, you want to see documentary evidence, okay? That when these matters are being prosecuted, when these matters are being tried, when these matters are being discussed, Ghanaians also want to know what has been recovered and how. I think that whatever assets are confiscated, whatever assets are actually being sold off by the state in the course of these actions ought to be made public as well. And I do know that this time we must carry the general public with us. And in carrying the general public, I hope that we'll continue to actually also have conversations about just what is being done and how it is being done. You see, beyond the processes within the courts, for example, there are also the other conversations going on. There is also the strategy that you must adopt. So where monies are recovered, for example, in the case of the bus branding, you saw how it was done. The repayments were done, we saw the figure, we saw the amount, we saw the valuation report. Mr. Mahama has spoken also about the new government valuation entity that he will be introducing, the new fiscal policy where the recklessness of government borrowing will now be checked by Parliament. There is a lot in store, but I am hopeful that those who will be taking up government communications as we go into government will ensure that on the back of whatever decisions and policies are being made, that there is also a strategy to keep the populace informed each and every step of the way. Make no mistake, this fight against corruption has just started. It will certainly be one that we intend to win.
Okay, but you know, I like that you admit that the wheels of justice grind slowly sometimes, but certainly it will take us to where we want to get to. But would you then disagree with those who say that, you know, maybe in the fight against corruption with this whole oral thing, you're just selling a dream to the ordinary Ghanaian, that yes, because from the way the promises are being made, it appears that in the next 3 months, in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, state funds will be recovered, because a picture has been painted that all these corruption scandals under the outgone government will be recovered as soon as the president takes office.
Would you, for example, not want to know how we arrived at all the monies paid to David Ajayi, for example? Would you not want to know? Do you not want to know that if he's been paid in excess of whatever it is that he's done, that he'll be able to return the balances, whatever is outstanding, to the state coffers?
But that's not the promise that you made. You said you will recover the funds. You didn't say that you're going to tell us how the monies were paid to him.
Why? Because if you investigate, what are you investigating? You are investigating first and foremost to gather evidence. You are investigating to challenge that whatever payments have been made were illegal, were unlawful, and ought not to have been paid. And once you establish that prima facie case, you then go on to go and do what? to recover. That is the process. And that is a process that every Ghanaian is expecting. And that is even a process better than what you were promised in the past. Even with the Office of Special Prosecutor. You heard about how they went after Madam Cecilia Dapa, for example. You saw the prosecution that took place in court. We remember her very hot exchanges with the lawyer Martin Pebu, for example, on the premises of the High Court. Look, there are ways in which we can fight these things. What happened to all the monies that were stolen, even by the servants in Auntie Cecilia's house, for example? What happened to the monies that were found in her own possession? They were confiscated by the special prosecutor. What I am telling you now is that I believe that what you are asking is that how will you know? And I am sure that we will be putting together a very good communication strategy as we go forward. Certainly these monies will not go to waste. How can you lose $11.8 million in Palugo example and have no, dam to show for it? We must find these monies. We must recover these monies. And certainly if we even have to set up serious anti-corruption courts specifically to work on these matters, then so be it. So let's see who becomes Attorney General. Is that what the
president intends to do?
The president has beautiful intentions, great intentions. And I have no doubt that Ghanaians want to see us deliver on the promise to fight corruption, to recover wasted state resources. Don't forget, you mentioned the banking crisis, for example. And that is actually one thing that is on the hearts of many Ghanaians. Look at the number of jobs that were lost, Serwaa. In some cases, couples, husband and wife, both bankers, lost their jobs in that rationalization. And if after all these years, you and I can only speak to the matter of Mr. Atuesian and his bank in particular, something must be wrong with our society. And we know that this is one of the things that in the next 120 days, a conversation will be taking place about these banks, for example. So, Serwaa, it is a day at a time. It is work in progress. One thing I can be very, very confident in is that Mr. Mahama has given us hope. There's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of reassurance. And with that reassurance comes with enormous responsibility.
All right.
Don't forget that on governance, we're also looking at the constitutional review process.
Certainly, and that's then my next, because
Absolutely.
I told you we're going to look at the speech of the president. And he talks about governance
4
reforms.
thematic areas.
Yes, so
economic restoration, for example. He speaks about it beautifully.
We will get there, but let's now focus on government reforms, governance reforms.
Yeah.
What exact reforms is he talking about?
You know, let me use the level of partisanship in our government institutions. That is the first step. That we must, of course, take a very close look at our governance institutions. You see, there's something that this overly partisan environment has done. It is also why it has bred so much corruption that all of us did not even anticipate. That when the English dictionary talked about nepotism, it didn't talk about 1 or 2 of your family or friends operating. It speaks about when large numbers of family members operate in government to the point of presidential daughters and children. Then you have a big problem. Because even investigating these things becomes a big challenge. When your cousin has served as finance minister, even until he overstayed his welcome, when he himself is in a conflicted situation where he owns a bank, an investment bank, and continues to get business whilst serving as finance minister. These are all matters the Ghanaians are interested in.
But Joyce, you are also related to the president. Does that mean that you shouldn't receive any appointment?
Absolutely. There was just one of me. And before Mr. Mahama even became vice president, I was a very, very active member of the National Democratic Congress. Like I said, there will always be overlaps.
I mean, yes, you were an active member of the NDC.
That there
wasn't Ken a member of the NPP as well?
And in fact, a financier of the NPP. But he babysat Akufo-Addo until he was made finance minister. Should he then not?
So should
have been more
would
diligent?
You advocate that no relative of any president is given an appointment?
That is impossible the world over. But ask yourself, how many relatives? Should the president's wife and children? Should the president's brothers and sisters? Should the president's daughters and sons? Just imagine that for a minute. Mr. Mahama wanted to bring all... I am actually an extended family member, to put it mildly. So just imagine that his immediate family members were all going to serve at all levels of government.
So it's okay for the president to appoint family members, but not
there
too
is
many.
a level of reasonability.
Right.
There is a level of logic. And using myself as an example, how many of us were in government? Certainly you would have president's friends. I mean, who comes to work with your enemies? Nobody does. Remember that governance also comes with a huge machinery behind government. Many people who support at all levels. I'm sure that many people will have different relatives at different levels members of parliament, members of the district assembly, members in office in government, wherever. My sister, it is the numbers. It is a sheer magnitude